Okay, let's see if we're live. Check it. Okay. Wow, just as I went live here, the Watch Duty app on my phone says the forward progress has been stopped on the Sears fire. That's great. I was a bit alarmed when I first saw this, and I rushed over to the computer, and the alarming first message was, view from Shellville observed fire near Sears Point in Sonoma, followed up by 3 to 5 acres with moderate rate of spread, bringing in California Highway Patrol for traffic control, and road closure. And then Air Attack 140 and Tanker 91 inbound. And they said Raceway could be impacted within 30 minutes, Sonoma Raceway. But oh dear. So it's a little bit unsettling, but I'm so happy to see at the end of the time lapse. Look at the smoke, barely even existing compared to what it was when it first started out. Yikes. So hey, Alan T, hello, and welcome everybody as people start to come in. Phew, yeah, thank you so much for being here. Looks like they slammed us down with aircraft pretty quick, and got right on it. I'm a bit alarmed. Is that high tension power lines that the fire's burning under? Like it's grassland and it went up the hill. And those love to spread really fast, so I imagine the aircraft immediately hitting the scene is what just changed everything in our favor. Hey, J Projects, good morning, good morning. Yeah, hey, Alan. I'm so happy to be obsolete already, just as I go live. We can turn on. Let's find Broadcastify. Got that over here in the other window, and we'll listen to see what the pilots are saying here. Let me log in. How awesome is this? Look at that ancient high voltage power line. Look, now that's that first one in the frame. Wow. California needs to update infrastructure. I'm not sure why power lines, the ones that are, regular power poles aren't just metal. Wouldn't they stand up very well? And much better, or at least not burn. So let's go to listen, Broadcastify. Let's choose Sonoma. And let's see, we have Cal Fire, Sonoma County Fire, and Cal Fire Dispatch Northwest. Let's turn that on. Oh, and then there's Sonoma County Fire and Cal Fire. Okay, let's try that one. Sorry about the ad. Got to renew my sub.
58, 1000.
Okay, here we go.
First reporting, they do have a bridge. It says that you expect to make it, but we're unsure if they'll be able to make it. We do have 75 also now responding.
Sears IC. So too, if we have any incoming, confirming 1440 still en route.
Can you guys hear them okay?
Transfer Dozer 1443 and engine 1562 en route. Yeah, I got 52 at sea and I'm comfortable canceling 1443.
Oops. My old ticker from yesterday. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I'm learning a new system, sorry. So once I minimized one window, I couldn't see the stream window. You hear it fine? Great, excellent.
For Sears IC, you can cancel acknowledge.
Oh, that sounds great. They're canceling new response units. Now, one of the last updates I have for watch duty is that multiple engines from Marin were on standby. Like we've got 4 aircraft in the air. Got a lead plane, a Marsh S2, 2 Marsh S2s, and one of those Sikorsky Firehawks. You can kind of see them drift into the frame every so often. Yeah, that's awesome, Alan. Just as I hit the live button, it goes, forward progress has been stopped. So, how close is it to the raceway? Let's go look at some maps. Do I have a good street location fix? Let's see. Now, on the Watch Duty app, they were laying hose on both flanks, and gosh, you know what? I can't enlarge the image on the Watch Duty app. That might be something. Suggestion for feedback. But it's Sears Point Road, right, just north and slightly east of the Sears Point trailhead. Cross Street is too small for me to read, but it's just where the foothill starts on Sears Point Road. So my audio is 5x5 out and distant too, meaning it's bad. Is that bad? Do I sound like I'm in a tunnel? So let's go to live picture here. Wow, this was a quick response. So Al Topo.
Copy on scene.
Go Sears Point Road. Or I'll say Sears Point Trail. I should say California. It went there anyway. So it's approximately right here. And thanks everybody for your patience. I'm still getting my computer set back up after reinstalling Windows, so I still don't have my little pen marker. So it's approximately right here. This is where the aircraft are circling. We're listening to the aircraft right now. Oh, thanks, Smitty. I now understand what you mean. Okay. So we're going to put global imagery on there. Let's find out where this raceway is. Is that it? Wow, so fire was just right down here. Going up towards that hill. Once it crests.
The driver across the bridge, so ambulance can meet her down there. Copy that.
That may not be related to this fire. It's general dispatch. So you can see the terrain. Here's the raceway. And if it had climbed all the way to the top of that hill, I'm not sure if it doesn't look like it has much in the way of vegetation or trees. It just looks like mostly grass. I don't know how. I don't know how much of a threat that would have been, but I mean,
663-1201.
Everything changes with wind. And the Bay Area can have some pretty insane winds. So I'm sure we'll have a detection. Yeah, this fire has been put out before the GOES detection could trigger. The satellites come around every 22 minutes or so. And so
156, 10-2.
I'm check and see if we have a better broadcast 5 feet right there. Because that's a lot of general dispatch. This is Sonoma County Fire and Cal Fire, and we know that there's always a lot of just general
56,
emergency calls that firefighters do. And
go ahead. For the lead for turn out ETA 12:25 hours. And we got 9-1 over for a few more minutes. We'll go ahead and leave some momentarily. And we'll proceed on it.
Yeah, that's a little broken.
contact 1 Enterprise Drive, 1 Enterprise Drive, Runner Park, apartment G is in George, Dublin Creek Apartments, Commerce Boulevard, Hunter Drive, control 4 at 1203.
Okay.
Should be on scene shortly.
Now this is what we want to see. A non-stressful day here at fire monitoring. So, oh, Alan's on it with a lat long. Perfect. So let's take a look at flight radar 24 as well. Let me pull it up. Oh, I'd have to log in, wouldn't I? Hang on. Do that. And 1 second, I'm going to yank the window away, put in my login. Be right back. And just a second.
St. Helena, engine 1563. St. Helena, engine 1563. Howling west on town 10.
Sonoma. Have you guys been to this raceway before?
Show 1563, entering the unit to station 47.
Engine 1563 at 1204.
There we go. Sears Point. It's very famous, at least, you know, locally. So here we have our March 2 circling about.
Right,
See if,
58, post 3.
oh yeah, we have a retardant splash right there. There's the plane pulling away. It's real hazy. It's real hazy, but there it is. Cool, cool, cool. Excellent. So how are you guys? It looks like we have a little bit of time to chat now as we kind of monitor things. I can be here till about 45 or 3. So you have me till then. And I'm sure, you know, just with the general fire hazardous weather that we've been having, smaller ones might kind of break out. I hope not. I hope not. So J.E.Cat says, greetings and salutations. Some people say I have to use a 13mm wrench to put my left shoe on. Anyway, I'm here. Hi. Thanks for showing up. This kind of got me jolted. My goodness gracious. The watch duty, one of the first posts was like the raceway would be impacted in less than 30 minutes. Wonder what happened here. It's next to a busy road. Could be somebody dragging a chain or somebody pulling over. We must remember that drivers need to not pull over to a place where dry grass sorry, where dry grass can hit the undercarriage. There's an airplane there. Oh, it looked like a fast-moving grass fire, and those just zip along. And high-tension power lines, eh? But in dry grass like that, I'm more thinking along the lines of, you know, car breakdown, something like that. I don't see that we have an explanation at all about what might have caused it. So it was probably too small. Oh, it is a CAL FIRE incident, I think. CAL FIRE LNU. Let's see. 15 acres was its final size. Currently 20% containment. Forward progress has been stopped and they have released the aircraft. According to Josh Leone. The username. Isn't that our Josh? Batman? Remember Batman? He's awesome. I haven't seen him for a bit.
They requested scene of a medical aid, 9100 Stewart Point, Skag Spring Road.
Okay, that's
00. Stewart Point, Springs Road, Lake Sonoma, Fall Creek Road.
okay.
Totally.
Not sure that we should remain listening to that stuff. It'll be giving out addresses of people's medical emergencies, but I'll try to be more on the ball with muting that when that happens. I'm juggling multiple monitors right now, and I hope to have a tri-monitor set up soon. That would be awesome. If I get some more kind donations, I could definitely improve my multitasking ability, because I have to have one monitor free for. Yeah, I'm going to mute that for a sec. I'll continue monitoring it on my own headset, and then if there's fire-related stuff, I'll just turn that back on. So the way that I would normally operate is I would like, say, a left side monitor that would be just showing the stream, so I could see whether or not the ticker is on. The way that I do this is I'm capturing all the images from this one monitor to my right. And I just have two monitors right now, so what would have been my center monitor, the big screen, I'm trying to squeeze a bunch of windows in. And it's not ideal, really. And so if you've ever seen people with 3 monitors and think, oh, that's excessive, you just haven't met a streamer and understand it. So
91 or approximately 7 miles to the south. 4,02993. Please advise 12292.
there we go. There's pilots again. And they're splitting off. So I guess, it's been.
Santa Rosa heading at 331. We'll maintain. We should be clear, back. 4140, copy, thanks.
You guys like the blue? Do you like the blue on the settings here? Because we can do this, but I feel like this is a little bit harder to track, especially if you're on like a small phone or something. So radar dark is so confusing. That's great. But here you can at least see, there's San Pablo Bay National Wildlife Refuge. You can see some bodies of water like Berryessa, San Francisco Bay. We have other options like radar blue. I feel like that's a little bit on the hectic side. And oh, no call sign, huh? Wow. Check that one out. Military. So, straight up black and white, no contrast to read anything. There's road map, there's terrain. I think terrain perhaps might be the best. Oh. Oh. Huh. Yeah, we could increase contrast. Alright, I'm going to mute that again. I don't think we're going to have more pilot sound. Blue is both very easy to see and very pleasing. Yeah, I really like it. Maybe we should just, maybe every once in a while, I should show terrain and then flip back and forth to give people an idea of, what's going on. So I already have a filter on, which is filtering out. We're not even. Hang on, I'm listening to that radio. I'm just going to turn it off. Okay. That's too distracting for me to talk and listening to that. I think aircraft are gone. If they make further chatter, it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, we left a scene or some remark about it. So this is great. Ground units have got it from here. Nice. So, yeah, friends, how have you been? And, oh, hey, G. Araya? Am I saying that right? Oh, did you change your name to Vanessa? You got the pink bunny. Okay. Or are there two pink bunnies? Did you change your name, Vanessa? Yeah. So how are you guys doing though? Smitty, Malin, hey, Cat? You guys are awesome. You showed up, boom, right at the nick of time, right in the call. So if this had been a serious one, man, you guys are on it, and I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful. You have multiple accounts? Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. That's giving me more viewers, right? Hey, John, or hey, Jay Connors. Oh, yeah, welcome to summer. That is right. It's June 1st. Welcome to June. I am, knock on wood, pleased that you know these fire crews are on it. This is some of the fastest airplane response. This has got to be world record stuff. Like they must be like sitting on the tarmac with the pilots in their seats ready to go. Pretty impressive. I'm very curious about what may have caused this fire. And we have bad news from other states. We have bad news from like New Mexico and such. The black fire is gigantically huge. I was reading wildfire news today. I showed up first. I bet you were. I bet you were ready though. Do you have the Watch Duty app? That thing is the bee's knees. Um, Everybody should get this. And here I am, just sort of browsing. And oh, it looks like they have their own website. Yeah, watchduty.org. I'll definitely have to add this to this list of master links. What to do. It's absolutely perfect, except it doesn't do all the counties of California. It started out pretty small with a few Bay Area counties. They have been increasing them, but sadly it's slowly over time. Like, I really hope this becomes the app of California, and then I hope that it's the app of the West Coast. It really should exist for all states, and they should probably have, if I were to design something, um, a system where, say, if wildfire is overlapping on a state line, maybe get an app that would, you know, work for both states. And the larger it is, the more slow and big it might be as a footprint for install. But there's got to be a way that behind the scenes they can push the same information to everybody signed up for those counties or whatnot. So this is incredible. You have to configure it and to give you the alerts. And there's one thing I must say about Android phones right now that has really made me angry. I had the FEMA app, Watch Duty, other emergency notification apps on my phone, and I started reading about wildfire events in the news and things that emergency situations during the winter time that should have dinged me, because I had emergency sign up for notifications for areas like the Tahoe region. It was still on there from the Caldor fire, and we're talking about the FEMA app. So let me show you the FEMA app, Android, and people are talking about this crazy stuff that's happening. I'm like, why am I not getting an update? And it turns out that by default, and I think I'm on Android, what, 12? Let me see. By default, there's this switch for apps. If you go to settings and then apps, that says remove permissions and clear up space. Now, this is supposed to be a feature, but it's crippling people's phones and crippling apps and leaving people in the dark. It's supposed to turn off all the permissions for apps you don't use very often. Well, yeah, people don't use emergency apps that often, maybe once or twice a year, depending on where you live, of course. And by default, this button is switched on. You can't really turn it off. You turn it off temporarily, but it'll turn itself back on. And so what it does is removes all permissions like location, and what you need, the app needs to know your location to tell you about the disaster in that location. And then it'll mute the app so it cannot give you notifications. And I found FEMA was like that, Watch Duty was like that. So I encourage everyone right now, if you're on Android, go to your settings, especially the Android 12, 13. I think it began with Android 13. Let me see what I'm on. I have the Pixel 6, which is a phone of chaos and torture. Don't buy this phone. Honestly. Big mistake. Let's see. I have to go to About Phone, excuse me. Android, hello, telling me my build number. Android 12. Yeah, this is not cool. Really not cool. I think I'm going to have to try to bring this to public awareness that, hey, your emergency app may not be functional because of what Android 12 and 13 have done. I don't know if it applies to Android 11. So, yeah, it's just absolutely, ugh. I can't tell you how angry I am about this. But hopefully, maybe we can have a letter campaign writing to Google or tell the press about this. But it needs to be in the forefront because this is life-saving. This is what these apps do. You know, we can't have FEMA being muted by Google, by Android specifically. So Jay Connor says, "Good day to Smitty. Glad to see you doing well." Yeah. Oh, you're doing some painting. What are you painting? Hey, Havoc, how are you? Glad to have you. I'm so happy to report that it looks like they're really gotten a handle on this fire just, what, an hour after it began. This is the San Pedro camera. We can check a couple others. I don't know what the cause may have been. The pilots have just peeled off and gone away. And this is so wonderful. If this fire had started closer to the raceway, we really could have seen a horrible scene. Even though raceways, come to think of it, they kind of have some firefighting equipment, don't they? It was open today, or at least there was some staff there. I wonder if that could have been utilized. But either way, that would have been bad if that had been affected. And I hope you guys are doing well. This makes me happy. Not the fact that fires happen, but they just amazing crews, pilots, ground dispatch, everyone coordinating like a well-oiled machine, and they just got on it and wrapped it right up. This is stellar. And then Marin units stood by, ready to aid. That's amazing. So JCat says my radar has wildfire info. Yes, my radar is awesome. US and Canada in addition to normal radar, wind speed and direction and temperature. My radar is amazing. But there's a bunch of different versions. If you go to well, not versions. There's at least another with the same name. So if we go for Android, this one, the one that has this color scheme, this logo, Acme, the one by Acme. Remember those cartoons with the coyote Roadrunner? Yeah, Acme. Yep. This is pretty incredible. Now the desktop app, weren't we playing with that for Windows the other last October or something? Not as cool as it looks on the phone or on the tablet, or I guess it's on smartwatches now too. So it's startlingly beautiful the way they have the wind coloring. It's let's see if we can get a good look at it. Hey, there's California. There's California. So you'll see. If I make this bigger, I cannot. Thanks. I guess resizing Windows doesn't work, but you'll see these color areas. So that will be like fire weather watch, for example, or red flag. Or you'll click on it and it'll be like snow warning, something like that, avalanche warning. And then you click on it, like over here. In this example, it says high wind warning, valid from here to here. Explains everything. Like Western Plumas County, Lassen Peak, snow in the Sierras. High wind warning remains in effect until noon Saturday. Northeast winds when, and this is exactly what you get from the Weather Service. And so that's perfect. That sets it apart from many other, weather apps, because it'll just have in plain English these paragraphs of what's going on. If you have just a regular weather app on your phone, usually you don't get that. But there's another one called NOAA Weather, and there's many of these. So I'll show you the right one. It's this, not that one, not that one. That's the bad one. That's the evil one with one of the scariest permissions I've ever seen in my life, at least at the time that I looked at it. So that's why I called it, evil as a nickname there. So let's see, with this one. Nope, not that one. Let's see. Looks like, do we have an official one? Weather.gov. Hey, Big Dog. Hello, welcome. Welcome, guys. And so if you're tuning in that the fire's basically been wrapped up, great. So we're talking about apps that can really help track them, keep you guys alert, informed, all that. Look at the difference. That's the 1 hour time lapse. Incredible job they did there. So let's see, where is the other one on the Play Store? So let's see here. You want my radar? Let's just type in NOAA. Not that one. This one. Pandemonium software. It's got the little cloud icon and that sun side of a blue ring. This one is good. It's not as pleasing to the eye as it's decent though. And it has little arrows to show wind direction rather than the elegant, my radar, which does it better. But this, they'll say hazardous weather outlook, for example, there. And it's just a plain English, like tonight, 20% chance of showers, thunderstorms before 11 p.m. Current conditions. The widgets are really ugly, but look at the amazing data you can get. Here's the hourly forecast. Temperature, they'd hit precipitation, wind, and I think there's a humidity column, which matters for wildfire. But no, I need to look at that. Let me see, actually, because that would be quite important. I hate apps that just don't show humidity, and that makes such a difference, not only in how you feel. Like if it's cold and humid, your bones are going to ache, and you'll feel colder than normal. But if it's dry air, you won't even feel the cold and might underdress. So it's like, yeah, under the precipitation column, which is right there, if you were to click that, it says chance of precipitation, the amount, the cloud cover percentage, and the humidity. So I'm going to look at Sonoma right now, and let's look at their humidity, where we had this this fire an hour ago. So for Sonoma, California, current conditions 72 degrees, clear, relative humidity is 47%, wind direction southwest, speed 6 miles an hour, visibility 10 miles. And that's all just a couple button pushes away. 72 feet above sea level. So that one is really good. It'll also give you alerts, emergency alerts, the kind that'll save your life. So I have emergency alerts from NOAA weather. You just pick any GPS coordinate, or just peck the finger anywhere with peck the map with your finger anywhere. Okay, yeah, peck with your finger on the map anywhere, and you can select a spot where you can have a weather alert. You don't have to do zip code. It can be very, very specific, and zip codes are pretty expansive. Big Dog says, Betty, did you bring your sidekick, or is she working? Oh. So Vanessa says, Smitty, I've only read a smidge on the plane, but it sounds like a fascinating 1850s history. Ooh, history book. Go up. Let me look at the chat. Let me look at the chat. Oh, Vanessa says, sent you a tweet with those ruins in the old fire from yesterday. Oh, cool. Cool. I'd love to know what those are, because I haven't looked at Twitter today. Havoc says, oh yeah, tracking. Agatha didn't do what it was expected to do yesterday. The hurricane and its energy got absorbed by the new system in Yucatan. Uh-oh. And Havoc says it's a 70-80 right now and slight concerns it might have worse to the wind shear. Okay. For a day or two. Okay. Is that a good is it a good thing that it got absorbed into Yucatan? Sounds bad for the Yucatan. I was there once, and it's such an amazing place. I felt bad. They get lashed by storms pretty frequently. We had a tropical storm long ago. I was on vacation there, and it was just scary. There's nothing really in the way of barrier islands or anything to absorb that. It just comes in and slams. Taking shelter is something that's extremely hard to do. It's just low. It's low ground. At least by the tip of the peninsula, like Cancun and such. One of the best ghost towns I've ever been to is Chichen Itza, the ghost town, the really famous one. Like you Google up Mayan pyramid, boom, Chichen Itza comes up. It's perfectly restored. Just incredible. If anybody ever wants to go there. And there's so many other Mayan ghost towns and ruins dotting the landscape. Xcaret, that's amazing. Not as well known. They had a resort there, and the old canal system, maybe it was a road system, but at least it's a canal system now by the Mayan temples through Xcaret. They had dolphins in there, and they had a swim with dolphins experience, but the dolphins had the run of the place certain hours of the day, so they weren't like in a pen all the time. The dolphins were out and about and seemed to just enjoy interacting with people. Like they had their own lap around the track they could do. Swimming in canals with tropical fish and coral and pillars and pyramids and ruins dotting the landscape. It was one of the most incredible places I've ever been. Okay, Big Dog says last night, sent an email. Yes, I got that, Big Dog. I just was reading that when Watch Duty showed me that there was a new fire. So the answer to your question is yes, and yes, and yes, 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 and yes, and very soon. So we should definitely plan that. And I am going to broadcast till about 3, I believe, and then or 2:45ish, and then I've got an appointment. And barring the no breakouts of new fires, knock on wood here, perhaps we can talk right about then, that time. So let's see. Let's look back at the chat. Vanessa says its footprint looks like Spanish or mission-style buildings. Yeah, let me log into Twitter on the other screen here. I can't wait to see that. I was so fascinated. Yesterday's fire, the old fire, which is still going on. We could still, we could take a look at that one. Look, Smitty, look at this ancient high-tension power line, or high-voltage power line, excuse me. You want to bet that was once a telegraph pole? This is the rickety state of affairs of California's power grid. When people are like, "Oh, power lines fell down. That's an act of God." No, it's actually, maybe you should obey the law and replace rickety lines and keep vegetation trimmed back away from them. But this kind of stuff, it turns out that many of these ceramic insulators are more than 90 years old. And when they failed and the equipment failed in right before the Paradise Fire, well, to start the Paradise Fire, the campfire, they looked at trying to replace some of the equipment, and they couldn't because no one was alive who remembered the manufacturing process. So if that gives you the willies about the state of the power grid, it should. It's killing people. How many woodpeckers have been on this thing too? Be pecked. But I found this very ironic that um, this was the first image of today's fire time lapse. So this is the San Pedro cam, Sonoma County, and it pivoted around to look at the racetrack, fire next to the racetrack. Looked at. Yeah, these are not new insulators. These definitely could be 80 years old, 90. I've heard it could be even older because sometimes power companies didn't buy exactly new equipment at the time they installed things. They're very reusable. They're really expensive to make. A lot of these are porcelain. There's some platinum family metal groups that sometimes go in making porcelain. I didn't know about that. It's like, wow. However, everything that ages fails eventually. I mean, they have to weather storms and temperature extremes. Ceramics eventually are going to give way, and wood is eventually going to rot, and these cables that are anchoring it down for high winds eventually rust, and this gear needs to be replaced. But companies, this internal memos, according to the New York Times and others, say that PG&E had a policy to let them fail and then replace. Well, they happen to be failing in the middle of firestorm. Excuse me, in the middle of red flag windstorms and cause firestorms. So this is the public awareness we need to bring to the situation. This does not fill me with a whole lot of confidence. Weathered, rotting kind of look to this. After a point in time, just replace them. It's pretty cool that all this gear is here, and perhaps I should put this one in a museum though, and or build maybe some sturdy metal pole, kind of line system right adjacent. So maybe people can see the old and the new next to each other. But if it's going to fall down, maybe just replace it. And, put some in museums. I think burying the lines would be even better, but what do I know? I know it's not practical in every situation. So let's see here. Let's look at the other cams. Or the old fire. Which one of those yesterday? I think they were not St. Helena. And I will get back on Twitter in a second. I want to play that out, Smitty. I figured you'd get a better kick out of that because Smitty has seen the worst of it. He's seen lines where old telegraph poles labeled as new, but that being pretty bad, or at least marked that way. That's according to his testimony. Mistakes happen, but that's hard to be a mistake. I'm having trouble even finding the old fire, which is great. Let's see, I may have to go back to the broadcast yesterday and just do I know what, I can check the Watch Duty app and find out which North Bay camera it was. Because Watch Duty, one of its features is you'll see screenshots of the different cams. And if you can read the bottom, then it says the camera's name at the very bottom. Okay, so the Dry Creek cam and the lower M has it. So let's look. D for Dry Creek. There's Dry Creek 1 and 2. And they may not be facing the correct direction right now. Ugh. Look at all the dry, dead vegetation around the camp. This is thick and thick with dead trees. Oh god. That's not good. That's a primed landscape for massive conflagration if you saw one. Ugh. Okay, yeah, it's facing the wrong direction because the fire was just pretty much due north of Napa. This Atlas Peak West may be looking the correct direction. See anything but a haze? Just a haze. So lower, let's go to the lower whatever MLL. Lower Mount of the Deer. Okay. Aha. That seems to be it, right? Which direction? The camera map larger. Yeah, I think it's facing where the is. So that's the burn scar. Sorry, my monitor doesn't have the greatest contrast. I have to lean in on my chair, and yeah, you can clearly see it. Here is the burn scar. That's retardant right there. It went up to the ridge line, followed the hill. So it's approximately like so. That would be our old fire. Kit Caller says, "Afternoon, folks. Here we are. Here we all are again." Sorry, friends. Yes, and I'm so happy that the forward progress has stopped on today's new fire over by the raceway. Yeah, they've been just on it. Our heroes are on the ball. Yeah, Big Dog says even the live trees look sick. Absolutely. The beetle infestations and the crazy fungus. There's a fungus attacking trees, and they're exuding. They're wasting their precious water sources, creating sap. Sap which has to be bled on the outside of the tree. Sap is immune system defense mechanism for a tree, and it's supposed to coat over the attacker, whether it be a bug, fungus, aphids, uh, anything small of that nature, or a wound in its flank, so that it's kind of like it's kind of like blood that will turn to a scab and close the wound, protecting it from infection. That's what sap is for a tree. But once it's outside the tree, it will crystallize. So it dries, basically. So that means the tree has lost unnecessary moisture, and unfortunately, sap that crystallizes is generally flammable in a pretty crazy kerosene-like way. So when trees bleed sap all over themselves, it's like they're just coated in ready-made fuel, like a gel fuel, like gel candles. It's like a liquefied fuel. Let's do a time lapse. So is the fungus related to climate change? I have a feeling that might be so. It could also be an invasive species fungus. I would love to know these answers. But either way, it's killing gigantic swathes of trees, not just drought. Drought's just making it worse. Drought interferes with a tree's ability to create sap and protect itself, and its ability to just be healthy. G. Connor says, "Okay, progress is done with the painting. Now to put up the blinds." Oh, you meant house painting? I thought maybe you were making a watercolor or something. Oh, okay. Yep. See you next time, Jay. Thanks for stopping by. And hopefully I can go live sometimes when there's not a disaster. Oh, so yeah, JCAT says as of 3 hours ago, KCRA reports the old fire is 15% contained, has burned 570 acres. Thanks. So they estimated yesterday it would burn to about 500, and thankfully the fire went uphill where there were fewer buildings. Now I promised to check Twitter. Let's do that real quick and see here. Oh, I think Vanessa, that's your thing. These are shot at Napa Soda Springs Resort, an abandoned 19th century spa that just got doused with flame retardant. Wow, I'm gonna retweet that right now. Let me put my Twitter in chat. Should have a copy paste link. It's at K Wildfires. So let me duplicate that. I can't show copyrighted people's um, photographs unless I got some permission. So let's should have notifications here. Yeah, Vanessa, thank you so much. Retweet that. The answer, what's the story of the ruined buildings? Awesome. You are cool, Vanessa. Okay. That's what I thought it was. Soda Springs Resort, an 1800s resort. Oh no, did this burn just in 2017 or so? Because I was really sad. There was one that dated back mostly to the Spanish mission days, where the Spanish were the first, people to record their use. I'm sure the Indians and Paleo Indians, of course, used it. They occasionally white man says, "Oh, there's no evidence Indians ever used hot springs." Oh, come on! For like 14,000 years of Paleo Indian history, you think nobody found it and enjoyed the hot spring? No, they tended to hold these things sacred, eat there pretty regularly. Just because somebody hasn't found an arrowhead or something doesn't mean that 14,000 years of people walking by, nobody noticed it. It's the business of everyone, especially mobile hunter and gatherers, to know where your water sources are if you live on a landscape. That's one of the main priorities. So looking at this article, let's bring it up. FIA.umd.edu, the Future of Information Alliance. What's the story of these ruined buildings? And this is from 2019. The circular one, that's incredible. So, link to a YouTube video. It's quite a few buildings up a remote Napa Canyon. I bet there are old brochures from the 1800s that we can look up right now. What do you bet, guys? Some of the things that California and the West Coast used to have, and well, most of America, were these Victorian marvels of huge, massive, elegant buildings, and very few survive today. Like the one, Coronado? Is that the one? Is that what it's called? It's one of the few surviving wooden wonders from that survives. I mean, fire takes these all the time. That's the one in San Diego. The one Coronado. Whoops, I got the San Diego. The Coronado. Did I say? Okay, Hotel del Coronado. Sorry, I don't know where one was coming from, but these things used to exist all over California. San Francisco had the Cliff House, this general style of architecture. Victorian wonders. If you watch Some Like It Hot, the movie with Marilyn Monroe, I mean, A, it's funny as heck. B, Marilyn Monroe's in it. But C, they stay at this hotel. And you're like, oh, I bet that got torn down. No, 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 it's still there. I need to see this place. This is on my list. And I don't say the word bucket list because technically everything you do is what you do before you die. But you know what I'm saying. Life goal. Yeah, Angel Share says, Caples, oh no, we used to have a... What? Oh no. Oh, that didn't take long. Okay, so, okay, fun time is over. So I was going to say, let's look up and see if this was a Victorian wonder. I bet you it was. But I heard that a couple of the Napa area hot springs, which there are many, just burned a few years ago. And that should all be restored. Oh no, something's happening at Cables. That's by Tahoe. I just came from there in January. That's why I was saying that where Sarah Luna was helping me. Okay, let's go to Tahoe then. I hope that's not a real report, but I have a feeling it is. So let's go to ghost detection. We don't have a satellite detection yet. Carson Pass, right? Kit Carson Pass. That's where I went over that in a blizzard. I don't recommend that. Kit Carson Pass. Yeah, right here. So that's the death curve of terror, where if you go down this, that's like a 2,000 to 3,000 foot drop. You do not want your car to leave the road right here. It's right next to Tragedy Springs, where there was an ambush and a murder in the 1800s. So which one's cables? I keep getting these ones confused. All right, let's tone down the imagery. Cables, yeah, to the one to the left, right, Kirkwood. Let's see. Uh, yeah, okay. Looking at the chat, we've got a report of a fire at Cables off of Highway 88. It says it's a house fire. A big response from firefighters. Oh, a house fire. Okay. That's still not good. So let's tune into Broadcastify here, because if it spreads to vegetation, then of course it's a bad scenario. All right, let me go to Broadcastify. El Dorado County, right? Is this El Dorado County? Yeah, that's the county boundary. No, that's the Tahoe Trail, but it's right at the county. Could it be Alpine County? Um, Kirkwood Ski Resort, in which, yeah, and okay, Alpine. Okay, it's Alpine. Alpine. I was close. On the border. Okay. California Fire Special 1 is not active. Northern California major incident. Oh, okay. And that was Old Fire. We might be hearing Old Fire stuff. Hope there's no ads. Sorry, I forgot to renew my subscription. Okay, the radio's on. I don't know how loud it'll be when somebody speaks, but I can hear kind of a irritating whine. It was so familiar when we were covering the Caldor fire. Yeah, Alpine County. Thank you, Angel Share. Oh yeah, the burn scar. Here we can just perhaps fire history now. I'm gonna show it. Yeah, that's the Caldor. See this giant red thing? All of that is Caldor. Never mind the little tiny birds. Gigantic. So I hope to take a plane ride to photograph it from the air. As soon as I arrived last winter to try to film the fire aftermath of the Caldor, because the roads and such weren't really open for quite some time to tourists and the like, um, on a regular kind of safe basis. And it was still going in October, remember? November, I think I slept through most of November, just in a coma almost, because I had been awake for sleep deprived. I think I streamed an average of 16 hours a day for 96 days in a row last year. Okay, yeah, thanks for the updates on the county. And so Kirkwood Ski Resort here in Cables, they did such an amazing job protecting Kirkwood. There were some cabin losses, I mean, that we were hearing about live, or at least threatened, but then I've gotten conflicting reports about whether or not any were actually 100% lost. There must be a map now of structure loss. The Caldor fire. We could check that. But it was extremely difficult and dangerous firefighting, particularly right here, Cables Lake. And then as you start driving south out of the mountains, kind of west, southwest, then you go to Silver Lake too. You can see this Thunder Mountain here, and it's like a death trap for firefighters. because if they get caught on these roads, you can't like go down to the lake. Only down here is it, you know, low enough. Ah, okay. Jeez, that radio scared me. Only down here is it low enough, but if you're, say, um, like right here, in many spots, uh, you have a steep drop off. Excuse me, Dead Man's curve. Where's that one? Excuse me, Tragedy Springs. Ah, right here. So you could see with the lines of how much elevation is lost. Like if you are driving from here to here to here to here, there's nowhere to go. Like your car would tumble off the side and go down and be the size of a toaster by the time you landed at the bottom. Like there's no shoulder, just a steep drop off. If anybody's claustrophobic, this is the worst road for you to ever be on, ever. And so the fire was spotting over here all the time. They kept on it with the helicopters and the Marsh S2s and the beehive of airplanes. It was a massive, massive effort day after day of multiple airplanes, so many hundreds of people and ground crews. And the helicopters had to follow around the ground crews. And there's several times on the stream they said, run, basically, in other words, to your safe spot. And they had a rocky outcropping, thank goodness, to retreat to, but not shade relief, where fire couldn't get them, and they had to retreat to it and just have their picnics, picnic lunches sort of things, sitting on rocks but surrounded by an inferno. And that takes a long time to get to that shelter. So they'd be at work, then they'd be like, run. And then they'd go run up the hillside to the rocks. And then they'd be at work, run. And they'd run down to the lake. And I can't even imagine that kind of stress working in the situation. They did have some things in their favor, like the snow machines at Kirkwood, kind of misting the area. And each one of these ski runs is an area, like a strip without tree. So it was almost like a fire break in a way. Yes. So I wonder also if the crews used the ski lifts to get up to the top. That would have been hilarious. That would be cool if we could ever interview anybody involved. But it was saved by a hair. The other ski resort at where Sarah lived, just to the north, got it pretty bad and wasn't going to open. But we thought Sierra at Tahoe, which here was going to be mostly okay. There was a big camera on this one. But then we saw the flames march right up practically to the camera. They saved most buildings, but it took heavy damage. I don't know the current status of it. Yeah, Big Dog, you're totally right. They did use Kirkwood as a base camp, the firefighters, and Sierra Tahoe. So who would have thought ski resorts would be so pivotal to fighting fires, and so helpful? And it goes to show that the basic lesson we've always known about wildland firefighting is that fire breaks count. Little strips of no vegetation that are just wide. For areas, those are basically when a fire does break out, firefighters race ahead of it. They calculate downwind. Do we have the time to build a strip of no vegetation? That's called a fire line or a fire break. They just push over trees with the bulldozers and cut them down because, well, they would burn anyway. And then try to get to a defensible space where they be safe, stop the fire's progress. And I don't think we should be reactive. I think we should be proactive. Just divide the land with some pre-made fire lines that all they have to do is man the station. It's kind of like when the Mongols are coming, let's build a wall around our city. Too late, the Mongols are here. Maybe we should just have a wall already and be ready to man it. So in the past, after we suffered many, many devastating fires in the West, we're talking 1930s, Tillamook burn, a mass fatality event in the 20s in the LA area, where I think 27 volunteer firefighters lost their lives, or some crazy amount. The Roosevelt administration decided that's what we would do. And they started making these amazing fire break roads, especially to protect the valley from the fires roaring out of the foothills and the mountains. And all of that work was halted with World War II's outbreak. And then FDR died, and nobody else really was that interested in completing it. So, unfortunately, these plans for these fire breaks have been in existence since the 30s. I think we need to dust them off. There's a big resurgence in that effort, and I'm glad to totally endorse that, because look at all the massive fire. All this red stuff is the last 2 years. All that red is the last 2 years of how much of California has burned up. It is definitely time to dust that plan off and reestablish it. Sadly, it was a shock to me. I found out that Paradise could have perhaps been saved, at least many more lives saved, because there was a planned fire break road, and they even began work on it in the 30s. And it was another road that was out of town. Well, and we all know that Paradise had mass fatalities because people couldn't evacuate the town in time. There's only 3 roads out to the south. I mean, this one didn't count, one on the far east side, because that's where the fire came. And so this town of 20,000 people tried to all leave at the same time, 2 roads. And this was shocking that there is an old unused bridge that was allowed to dilapidate, fall into ruin, that they had built in the 30s. Might have been the Works Public Administration, WPA. And I think Butte County, there's a dispute on should the feds, the state, the county, or whatever own the road, and it got stuck in a bureaucratic nightmare process of nobody taking ownership, so nobody made. Oh my gosh, John, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting me. You're one of my best supporters. Thank you so much. I can get a lunch today. That'll be wonderful. I'm real excited about being back, and I'm so happy to have you guys with me. Oh, Big Dog is saying, in fact, 3 different ski resorts were used as base camps. Yeah. Oh, there's that radio crackling again. I almost forgot that was on. I'm hoping, what I've been waiting for here as I've been babbling, is that satellites will come around, see if we have a heat signature over at Caples. But we don't have an Alpine radio. This is it. I hear nothing. Hopefully somebody's home isn't burning to the ground right now, but and hopefully it's not spreading to vegetation. Now let's look at the weather conditions. Do we have an address, or like not really an address, but a crossing, like a street address? Oh, Broken Fish says, is there a new fire around the old fire? Hey, welcome. And what was your old name? I don't remember modding somebody called Broken Fish. There was a Sonoma County fire, and it's taken care of in about an hour. Right by the Sonoma County Raceway, it looked like it was right on the road, and was climbing up the hill to the back of the raceway, and they got on it. Boom. Aircraft slammed it. Ground crews got it. It was a grass fire. Oh, hey RJ, how are you? Okay. Was it a house fire, RJ? Okay, I'm confused. Now there's supposed to be a house fire near Kirkwood. So, and we'll go back to the hot springs in a second if everybody's still with me. I want to make sure that we're not, missing breaking news, and then we'll go back to talk about the hot springs, because that was amazing. The old fire, it was creeping towards this castle-like ruins. Yeah, and the Sears Fire forward progress is stopped. That's what it was called. It was at Sears Point, next to the Sonoma County Raceway. So we can go right back to it. Right there. So you see the bay right here. And you know what? I really need to get my marking pen software again. So now, all right. let's rewind a little bit. We had to pause for breaking news. So during the old fire, I noticed, what the heck? It was like this round building. This is not a new picture, by the way, not at all. Um, and apparently it was an 1800s resort called Napa Soda Springs. Wow. Now I was curious, is that the Bay Area, Napa Valley area resort that burned just a few years ago, like 2017 or 18? Because that broke my heart because it had been, I don't think it was original Spanish mission type buildings, but the Spanish had originally set up, permanent buildings around the place, and it was just that historical. And I just never want to. Ah! Oh, God, that scared me. Okay, I'm turning that off. That's Alpine County stuff, and we don't hear any dispatch to whatever's going on up there. Yeah, RJ says yes, house fire near the Caldor burn scar. Okay, yeah, thanks, RJ. No worries. Um, so I think what Brokefish was talking about was how many fires are currently in the Bay Area, because here is Sears Point, and then the old fire is approximately here, so not that many miles. So it's two different counties, but the county lines are right next to each other, and just the North Bay area. So go rewinding back to, first of all, I need to know what Hot Springs Resort burns down Napa area. Let's do a quick Google search. Oh, the Boys Springs Hotel, rebuilt in 1927, becoming the Sonoma Mission Inn. The Boys Theater, BOYES, and post office, grocery stores, meat market. Wow, it looked like it was a town. Meat markets, hardware stores, drug stores, lumber companies, counties, and other businesses. It burned down the firehouse, and more than 100 families lost their homes. Yeah, 2015, the firestorm that destroys Boys Springs Hotel. Now I wasn't covering fires at that time. I was, more educated than the average citizen because we lived in fire country in the hills of California, but I wasn't educated like I am now. I was studying at the time the old fires like the Tillamook burn that were related to my ghost town research, which gave me a gigantic education. I read several books on those, and of course studied every documentary and photograph I could find. So, but I was still in that learning process, and I never could imagine back then doing what I'm doing now. So, I don't have, other than reading it in the paper and crying about it, because I wanted to do ghost town documentaries, capture places before they burn down, historic areas, or before they get closed or torn down. I was really sick because I wanted to tour the Napa area, go to all the old wineries, all the old Spanish missions, just to the everywhere I could. I think it's always hard to know if you should ever cover Paleo Indian sites because I don't want to put them in danger. Um, people will go mess with them, put graffiti on it. But I know that there's a lot of Indian history there too. And then as the years went by without me being able to afford a camera, I said, okay, next year I'll go film things. And so unfortunately, too many places have been lost to fire and time, and I'll never get to see. But I want to remedy that immediately. It's time to get started because if we're going to preserve places, we need to bring attention to them. And sometimes after these fires, that's the only thing we'll have left. What have we documented? For the grandchildren and the next generation. So this is sad. That was a massive firestorm. And what caused it? The Valley Fire. This is an article written at the time that it was happening. So this is a different hot springs resort lost to fire. I wonder when the old one, we've established it's not that one. When did Napa Springs burn up? So explorernapa.org has a fairly extensive history about it, worth a read. And here's the cliff notes. 1855, 27 springs of mineral-rich cold water were found 7 miles north of Napa City. Okay, I'm sorry, it's not a hot spring. It's a cold spring? Okay, they would have heated bathwater for the guests. There was a big movement where natural spring water was said to improve your health. And I absolutely believe it. The minerals that can soak into your skin, oftentimes spring water will contain things like lithium that helps everything from, when it's taken medicinally, depression, bipolar, and other conditions. There's a debate about how much you can absorb through your skin, but we know some minerals can. The peace and relaxation is beneficial no matter what. And typically they have things like massages and, recreation activities. In the 1800s, they were called sanitariums. They were there for you to play tennis and relax with people and have a good time and have bathe in healing waters regularly. They would have special doctors. They treated cripples and everyone in a very gentle and accepting manner, which was so unusual for most places at the time for the disabled, where the old, unfortunate medieval idea of disabled people was God punishment because they're wicked inside. So disabled people used to get stoned and stuff and spit on for birth defects. And so science was changing all that with scientific explanation, disability. And there's a flip around movement to help people. And so these places were lovely. There's still some alive today, some around, just shadows of the amount that we used to have. They became very popular, and so these special hotels, resorts with medical facilities were all over the place in the West. And I have a mission. I have a personal mission to go and find the locations of most of these places to document them. And every single one that we still have left is a treasure. We almost lost several more to fire last year, and in 2020 in Oregon and Washington. So stay tuned for that. So it looks like the Napa Reporter, 1860 was the earliest known ad promoting the water in a spa. Wow. So that's Civil War era. And then 1861, the year the Civil War broke out, oh my God. So they had bottled water that they sold too. And in 1861, they say the owner of this place got beaten, yikes, and attacked. That while he was away discussing his case with regional authorities, J. H. Wood and his companions attacked Ms. Buckman, oh my gosh, and workers at the springs, beat them and destroyed the bottling works. Wood and his associates were each sentenced to $75 fine or 35 days in jail. And in 1862, arsonists struck the bottling works. Okay, it sounds like there's a massive legal thing that went ugly. Property sold in 1872. We're talking about this crazy castle-like ruins in Napa that the old fire might be looking at right now, although that wouldn't be the first time. So this is the history of this place. 18, so that gets sold. 1874, Jackson had built the place into a health and pleasure resort. Visitors could bowl, play tennis or billiards. They could hunt, fish, ride horses, or stroll among the olive and almond, citrus, and apple trees. Grounds were over 100 acres with 12 miles of pleasant walks through the hills and canyons. That garden must have been oh, here it is, the round building. April 21st, 1877, the resort, I'm going to make this, not read this. There we go. The resort introduced the rotunda, a 75-foot circular building topped by a grass cupola. Copula? How do I say that? There were 2 stories of outside rooms and a large interior drawing and reading room lighted from the dome-shaped roof by a 16-foot chandelier. In 1881, the resort opened for overnight guests. In 1884, they had improvements including Tower House, the Ivy House, the Music Hall, Garden House, Clubhouse, and Pagoda. 1889, the Register reported Colonel Jackson's new residence, Bellevue, was almost done with a new swimming pool, 150 by 50 feet, situated below the tennis lawn. September 26, 1900, Colonel Jackson suddenly dies, leaving the property to his wife. And then that's the start of a long, slow decline. Oh dear. 1914, First World War, followed by Prohibition, led of the closing of doors to the guests. Napa Soda, Jackson's Napa Soda, after Jackson, who had bought the place, continued to be sold in the Second World War, mostly through its outlet in San Francisco. I wonder if these old bottles are worth something. The site itself was burned in an arson fire again in the early 1960s. 8 arsonists. Looking for a bit more context, I searched for, this is not me, this is reading an article, Napa Soda Springs in both the Library of Congress, Chronicling America, and archival newspapers, and found lots of articles in the 1860s. In 1888, Napa Soda Springs was mentioned among leading resorts of California. Wow. So it was like Disneyland of its day. I noticed that doing a search for Napa Soda Springs gives lots more about 1880. Dang. So, pictures. That was an amazing place. Hey, John. Hey, welcome. He says, hello, everyone. Busy getting work done. I'll be listening without chat. So no butt bands happen. Thanks, John. John says an A440 plane left the house fire cables on Highway 88. The tankers were released as well. Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks. They're getting it under control at Caples. Sierra Mojo says, that's good. That's good. So, Johnny Depp breaking news, J.E. Cat. I'm filing that under I don't care. Okay, I know it's a joke. Yeah, Vanessa says this place sounds infinitely cooler than I'd imagined. Yes. Wow. See how wonderful it is to photograph things, even if they get gone later. Oh, wow. I wonder where the spring water goes. That's the rotunda's interior. Incredible. Wow. Cool. This is a nice exterior shot captured as a colorized postcard. Now, when you see postcards like that, they kind of look like a photo. They kind of look like a drawing. That used to confuse me. It turns out that they really are photos. The photos get colorized, but it's printed on cheap linen paper. I mean, linen paper, quotation mark. It's not true paper. It's linen fibers, which come from the flax plant. You know, like linen, people say, oh, my linen closet. Well, most things are made of cotton these days, but linen's actually a nicer fabric. More expensive, and that's why everything's made of cotton these days. Vanessa says, how cool it'd be to metal detect it. Ah! No. It's illegal to metal detect anything over, I think, 75 or 100 years old on any public property, any site like that, because that's actually extremely harmful to what we know with archaeology. I mean, yes, it'd be cool to do it, to find things, but the problem is that we can only learn about things if archaeologists know what layer something is found in the ground, what was above it, what was below it. So even if you turned it into an archaeologist, they'd be like, thanks, looter, because all the information's gone, which is more important than the object. So, like, we have pottery from Peru and stuff that could be 1,000 years old, 3,000 years old, 5,000 years old, or 500 years old, and nobody knows because even though the stolen goods were recovered, we don't know. So the number one rule of ghost towning is take only take only pictures, leave only footprints, just like that hiking. And it's a taking, like, don't be a taker. It would be best if we had more rules for protecting things like England does in Europe, where metal detectors and archaeologists could work hand in hand. Because they have rules where, like, if you find something and you leave it in the ground and then you alert authority. And that's helping archaeologists to find stuff. But the whole removing it, picking it up and dusting it off and taking it somewhere, that's the harmful thing. It makes dating so difficult. It makes figuring out what was what so difficult. Like, for example, say a wooden structure burns, right? And the only thing that remains of it in the soil is where the nails used to be in the walls and in the floorboards. And so they'll be in neat lines, in like a neat rectangle, right? Because that was the outline of the frame. And then crisscrossing that rectangle will be where the floorboards were. And you can only tell where the front door was because there's that doorknob. See, and you can only tell where the windows were because of the glass pieces. And so somebody takes the doorknob and other people take the nails. You can't even tell there was a building there. Other people take the glass. They make jewelry out of it. So little by little, all the ghost towns are disappearing one tiny piece at a time. And it's so sad to see places that had artifacts just get stripped. Every artifact you've ever seen in a ghost town is because somebody else didn't take it. And that's the kind of culture of preservation that I try to promote. And I do hope that we can enter an era where metal detecting will be like, they'll have a day like, here, we just found a ghost town from the 1800s. Some of them are lost, like some of the gold mining camps are lost. We don't know where they used to be. Elizabethtown was lost, and I think they just found it in a county kind of by Plumas. It's like the Sierra County, I think. And that would be cool if there's a day where metal detectors, everybody show up, everybody's given like a sector, and everybody runs their detectors over it. And when they hit something, they get a flag out of their backpack and they stick it in the ground. And then they summon over the archaeologist and they get out their instruments. And then the detectorist gets to see what they helped uncover. And then, of course, the pieces go to a museum. And the name of the detectorist is right there below the piece on display. And you get credit for finding it. And wouldn't that be an awesome way to do things? But as it is right now, when people take stuff like doorknobs from Ghost Town, that's cool, the moment of excitement of finding it, but it goes into a shoebox in the garage. And then it's out of context. It just looks like a stupid old doorknob that the grandkids are going to sell in the garage sale. But it could be incredibly important. It could be a doorknob that Mark Twain once touched because he went around the gold country. Nobody knows that. Nobody tagged it, marked it, appreciated it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Vanessa says, yes, that's what I was thinking. Not just someone going off on their own, but organizing an effort like that would be amazing. Absolutely. Because archaeologists are underfunded. They need the public's help. And there's a lot of wealthy, to middle class, to any. They also need volunteer time if you're not wealthy. These metal detectors they have to be, God, they're so expensive. They can be 20 grand, 25,000. And they're necessary because California, for example, has such iron-rich soil. It's so difficult to, say, find a nugget of gold or other iron artifacts when you already have the red earth, because the red earth is rusting. It's rust. It's iron content. So, yeah, I mean, I would totally be for a situation like that. But as it is, the unfortunate looting culture that Americans think is normal, it is not normal in the rest of the world. And it's just because a lot of the ghost town books that came out in the 70s, unscrupulous people said find treasure as a way to sell the books instead of appreciate history. and they were full of, the metal detector ads and such, and that's what the magazines were about. Find treasure. Well, you'll never find treasure in a ghost town, because guess what? It was on the map and everybody's already been over. You're gonna find nuggets if you go to the riverbanks after a flood year. Go get the gold nuggets. Like, get a claim. Learn a little bit about finding gold, and you will find it. I could probably teach a minor class on it. So, look at that. But this is now on my list. I wonder if people can go here and to this Napa Soda Springs, if there's public access, or if I can get it. Would you like me to go and film this? I could. I'd love to. What do you guys think? So I've just gotten the new camera. I think I'll be buying a lens probably today. I want to go film some Eastern Oregon ghost towns for you guys. I did a scouting mission several years ago. And then I want to go to California and start filming ghost towns, especially the ones underneath the reservoirs that are now starting to pop up, like Bidwell's Bar. Maybe go to Folsom. I don't think Almanor is low, but there's a ghost town under Lake Almanor called Prattville. My dad tells stories of, and I saw it once. I remember being young enough when we had a boat up there, and we had a fish finder. And Dad remembers in the 60s, you could still go over Prattville on the southwest shore area, and the tin roofs of the old drowned buildings were still reflecting the sun. And were kind of shiny and flashy down there. And then after that, you couldn't see it anymore. I bet silt is all over it and rust and all that. It would be really interesting to see what's down there. And then when we went over it with the fish finder, which is like a little radar thing, we had weird anomalies, up and down little bumps in the bottom of the lake. I think we had a depth of 94 to 98 feet at that time of the year. I don't remember if that was the high water winter lower. But PG&E is in control of that dam, and sometimes they release more water than usual for hydroelectric purposes downstream. So sometimes it might be only 75 feet deep. I remember holding my breath as much as I could. I used to be really good at swimming and not free diving like an expert, but a total amateur. I got to probably 65 feet down. Thought I would drown on the way back up. I was just clawing my way to the surface. It was ice cold too. Like, the surface of Lake Eleanor is cold enough that even if it's hot, you hate it. Like, you're like, oh God, I'm getting out of the water. But when you go 10 feet below the surface and you're like shivering hard, it is one of the iciest lakes. But now they have these little ROV, remotely operated vehicle things that go under. So if I get enough donations, guys, I'll get one of those. I'll send a remote operated vehicle down there. Where else? Wouldn't that be cool? So Super Chat is back on, and I do accept donations. Thanks everybody who has done that. It all goes 100% to either feeding me while I'm streaming, because I can't cook while I do this. Especially not when it gets hectic. The next level of priority is funding the computer to keep stream going smooth and having improvements. The internet bill's kind of big. To live stream from the road, like big data policies, for the phone. And then camera gear, because I do want to set more of a studio up so you can see my ugly mug as I talk about things. I hand gesture a lot, and I understand I'm not as good as an effective communicator if people can't see the hand gesture. And hopefully I can show you guys objects that I have. I want to show people how to recycle electronics, what's inside things, how to repair computers, and I want to make training videos on how to track wildfires. That's one of the next things that I would really want to get into. Big Dog says Granite and Greenhorn are two well-known ghost towns in Eastern Oregon. Yes, that's precisely where I've been. I've gone to Eastern Oregon twice. One to the Cornucopia area and the Sumter area. and once was a prior visit to the Sumter area. And you want to see granite and greenhorn? You guys want to see some pics? Oh, Grant Glow, I'm so sorry, I missed your comment. You have a gray, tiny word, tiny name that I need to increase the font on my browser. Grant Glow says if you're local, we can call it a castle. We all explored the ruins as kids. Really? Oh, so you guys call it the castle, the rotunda thing? Do you have any photos you could send? If anybody has photos of historical things, here's my email. Catherine.davidson.wildfires@gmail.com. And let me know if I can use your photos with permission. And wildfire or otherwise, I would definitely love to be streaming non-disasters. You guys know, I kind of went, it kind of broke my heart a little bit, but in a way. But these are the comments on my last broadcast. Hi, Catherine, missed your voice, but it means there's a fire. And then, hey, there's Big Daddy, hugs for all. And then, welcome. No offense, but I'd prefer not to hear from you this summer. Thanks, James. I say that in the most caring way possible. You're back, Catherine, which means not so good things. Although I'm glad to hear your voice again. I'm the harbinger of doom, apparently. Like, if I get on live, people associate me with disaster, and I was like, ah. Oh no. Okay, sorry. Reading back what Grant was saying. The site is private land. If you have permission from the landowner, you can metal detect. Oh, interesting. That is the other loophole in the rule. If you are a private landowner, you can metal detect your own land, even if it is historical. So, unfortunately, I mean, sometimes that's just totally fine. It's, there was once an old barn here and it's horseshoes or something, but some of the most important historical sites in the United States get totally dug up just because they happen to be privately owned, with pretty much destruction of what we need to know about a place, such as Civil War battlefields. On private property, people take all the bullets, and so it's hard to understand where the battle happened exactly. They're still trying to figure out some mysteries of the Civil War, like where were the positions of different men, who was telling the truth, who was telling a lie about how a battle went down, and the positions of musket balls, cannonballs, fragments, the horseshoes from the dead cavalry horses on the battlefield, saddlebag buckles can tell us things. A tiny piece of metal the size of your pinky nail, which is like a musket, not the flintlock thing, but the little hammer of a musket, can prove things. A little spoke, the hub of a wheel for a cannon. Those things are metal though, get dug up, and the leather rots away from like the saddle, and the wheel would rot away because it's wood from the cannon. But it's those little things where little by little, just piece by piece, everything disappears. But it is legal if you have permission from a private landowner to metal detect on their property and take stuff. That's the loophole in the law I wanted to point out. But on public land, you're going to get handcuffed. You can't disturb a lot of artifacts. If you found like a arrowhead, it'd be best to take it in and tell people where you discovered it. And then archaeologists will look at it for just a second, tell you whether or not it's important, and maybe they'll hand it right back to you. But if you found like a bunch in one spot, you may have found a manufacturing place for Paleo-Indian artifacts. And if that's a manufacturing place, there probably were huts. There's probably a small village, and that site might have been used again and again over thousands of years. So there's, unfortunately, at Lake Oroville, one of those such places where obsidian was worked. And if those things had remained in the layers of the soil, we would have seen over time, over the many thousands of years, how the evolution of the technique of flint knapping evolved into new technologies that would have told us which different people were using the site, because different ethnic groups had different ways of flint knapping. And it would have dated the sites because there's ash layers of different volcanic eruptions. So if it was, say, underneath, uh, an ash layer of Mount Lassen or something erupting, or Mount Shasta, then you'd date it to this or that. There's other markers in the soil, but they busted a guy because year after year he just looted the site and he collected like 25,000 artifacts. And he took glue and glued them to felt um, pads and put them in glass cases and was selling those as souvenir things. And so that would have been the most important archaeological site of probably the 20th century, considering Northern California or anywhere in California is Paleo-Indian information, and all of that was destroyed. The Maidu connection to the area, they found out many of them were Maidu artifacts. You could have opened a museum and had people learn about the local culture. It's just so sad that all of it's worthless. All the artifacts were recovered, but nobody knows anything about them because you can't date obsidian. It's all from the same volcanic eruption. So when you go and mine obsidian, it's from, say, an eruption 10,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago. It's all going to date to 50,000 years ago. You can't tell when a human hand worked it and shaped it. So that's if you find a lot of things, you could be a hero. You could rewrite the history of North America, because if any of those were 17,000 years ago or older, that would have destroyed the land bridge theory. More and more we're finding artifacts that were older than the Bering Strait land bridge, which means that people came to North America either by boat or they were always here. That's what the Indians claim. So they get insulted. We're like, oh, you found it before Columbus. Like, no, we were always here. We were created here. That's their belief system. They hate that, you know. People that try to think they're sticking up for that. You don't discover the place, you always live, man. So, case in point, Clovis, New Mexico, like they found like five artifacts, 5 little spearheads. They predate bow and arrows. So the Clovis points, the Clovis, New Mexico points rewrote history, and it turns out the Clovis people are the oldest known ethnic group of North America. And they had a very, very crazy way of flint knapping that matches France. That's the startling thing about it. So what's that about? The idea that people separated on continents would just have the exact same style of creating tools is 1 in a million chance. It's probably not a coincidence. So what if somebody had just put this in their pocket and took it home? We'd never know about this. We'd never know that the Clovis points were as old as they were, 12,000 old. These are all throwing spears, because the bow and arrow is not invented yet. So they probably were used with the atlatl, the throwing spear chucker. Atlatl. Many of these are not big. Yeah, the spear chucker. Incredible piece of technology, which was present in Europe too. So wouldn't it be crazy if the truth comes out to be that North America was populated by a mix of people from the old world from, say, Western Europe, and also from people from the old world from Siberia. And now there's a new theory that Polynesians from the Australia type area made it all the way to South America, because their language group matches Polynesian language groups at the tip of South America and not Native North American language groups. So it's mind-blowing if you find something like this, and you go and tell an archaeologist, hey, there's more where this comes from, and you geotag it and tell them exactly where to find it, leave it in the earth much as you can, you can rewrite history, and it's you in the history books. This is way more important than picking up an arrowhead and being like, oh yeah, I found a neat arrowhead, spearhead. Like you can rewrite history, and that's incredible. So this is where Clovis technology was found, from these regions, Eastern Oregon, California, Washington, all the way down to Texas and such. And they're trying to theorize the Clovis King, the ice-free corridor, but here's the thing: we found their points and other skeletons of human beings now in South America that predate this ice-free corridor. So even if there was a land bridge, you couldn't cross the glaciers, and this gap did not last very long. So there's never been any evidence that anyone in the Paleo-Indian age ever went through the corridor. Although they've looked and they've looked and they've looked. Land bridge theory is basically dead at this. There's no argument that supports it. There are no physical evidence. And more, it's looking like it was by boat. If you think it would be really hard to get to America by boat, it would actually be pretty easy in the ice age, because the pack ice that kind of freezes solid around the Aleutian Islands and such. If you ever watch Deadliest Catch, the snow crabbing show, you could walk across it basically. And so pack ice of the Ice Age used to go down to like Washington State, and it went all the way to the Koreas. So there definitely would have been migration, seals, sea lions, and walruses, and bear, of course, hunting them. And so they think that primitive hunters, Atlantic and in the Pacific, would take boats out there and just follow the game herds. Just keep following, keep following, keep following. As long as they returned by the time, before summer, when the ice would retreat to the north a bit, they'd be cool. But some of them probably went a little too far and had to run for their lives and make it all the way north, wait for the next winter, and try to get all the way back. And then they might have been like, dude, we found a new land. And then this happening simultaneously at the tip of South America as well. So that actually, there's physical evidence for that. And that's the new picture, the new understanding of North America. I can't tell you guys how much this is absolutely cutting edge, and you really could make a difference if you find something. Okay, looking back at chat. So Vanessa says, maybe I mentioned this sometime last year, but I used to live in Seoul. Oh, really? In Korea? And while they're doing new construction downtown near the palace, they're finding the foundations of old city markets. You know, what blew my mind is, casually, as I was reading something, there's a big movement as the glaciers retreat up in Alaska and Canada and stuff, to look at the retreating glaciers, the Alps as well, because perfectly preserved spears are coming out of and artifacts like leather bags that are 10,000 years old and such, or thereabouts, are coming, thawing out underneath the glaciers as they retreat. So they survive in these little pockets. Like if a glacier goes over two boulders, whatever was in between the two boulders is kind of protected. Just like Otzi the Iceman in the Alps. So every year they go out there and try to pick up the artifacts and document as much as they could. And kind of casually mentioned was a bronze spearhead. And I blinked and said, I'm sorry, what? And they're talking about it being thousands of years old, like a bronze spearhead in Alaska. I was like, wait, the Inuit and Paleo Indians here didn't use metal? Isn't that what we're told? That there's no metal working in North America? That there's some gold working and stuff that the Peruvians and such did? Silver. But they didn't figure out copper and bronze, which is a mix of copper and tin. I mean, that's serious underground hard rock mining for metals like that in metallurgy, advanced knowledge. Shouldn't it be stone? And so the article just went on about how they had contact with the Koreans in the Bronze Age, like in the Chinese Shang Dynasty. What? Okay, that's not taught in school. That surprised the heck out of me. So, wow, wow. Nevi Danzy says, Tiger Lily. Oh, did you change your name too? Why are you all doing this to me? Hey, hey, Tiger Lily. Thank you for your support. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. And glad you're here. I'm gonna stream till about just before 3 or so, and while we're waiting for wildfire news to come, I figure we just lead just talk about history, which is what I can babble about all day. um, did I see the gold dredge in Sumter? Yes, I saw them restoring it. I'm sorry, guys. Didn't I just promise you some pictures until I got distracted? I'm sorry. You guys keep me on track. I have ADD, remember? Hey, Iceman, Cogito, how are you? I was thinking about you the other day. Oh man, they buttoned up this fire today. It was great. This is the current status of the old fire, which is also just kind of smoldering. Um, one by Sonoma was buttoned up in 2 hours, basically. So Grant Glow says, heck, when I was in school in the early 2000s, they still taught that Christopher Columbus found America. Oh no, it's true actually. He didn't find it first, but Christopher Columbus did discover America. Now this weird movement to say he didn't is a sad thing where nobody understands anymore what the word discover means. It has a really distinct meaning in the scientific community. Back in the day when people used to find technology and make discoveries, lowercase d, they would keep them to themselves. Like if somebody found a new land, that civilization might not share it with another. In fact, the corporation, if it was a trading company, may not share the maps with anybody else. Like they'd have a monopoly on this trade with a new land or a navigational way to go. And so the scientific community, when science came about in the Renaissance, it would be a change that discoveries would be made public. And then you get credit for the discovery. But you have to do several different things. It's capital S, capital D, scientific discovery. You have to A, back up your claim with evidence. So you have to keep logs. You have to take photos or drawings. You have to document things, have witness testimony, but most importantly, scientific instruments such as mapping with sextants, get good at measurements. We're talking gridded maps with coordinates. And plus, you have to publish publicly your finding. Third, peer review has to be it has to be verified. The first person to accomplish those three things is the discoverer. Doesn't mean the finder, it means the discoverer. Just like today, you did not invent the light bulb. Maybe multiple people did at once, but the scientist who does those three things is the inventor, gets the credit. Marconi basically beat Tesla to the radio patent and the publishing. So, yes, Columbus discovered America, because why? The Vikings didn't share their knowledge with anybody else. They didn't even make maps. They had an oral history type of way of remembering where to navigate. The Native Americans didn't discover it because they didn't have writing. I mean, they could have done the three things for scientific discovery, but they didn't have a concept of science or educations. They also did not discover the place they happened to already be born in. So, yes, Columbus discovered America, but he didn't find it first. I mean, plenty others did. So, right, the Chinese didn't do a scientific publication either. Although the Koreans, it's just like when did the Renaissance begin and where? It began in Europe. So Europeans had a kickstart on that whole concept of things. So the thing is you have to document things, and that's it. When I tell people you can discover new ghost towns, you of course didn't find the town. Whoever founded the town, quote, found it. Get it? Founding a town. But If you go through my checklist of what defines a ghost town and um, what qualifies, you could put a new one on my map in my database of ghost towns because, for example, ghost towns don't get abandoned overnight. Most of them decline slowly. Overnight abandonment is extremely rare. I mean, Pripyat at like Chernobyl, overnight abandonment. But Gary B. Speck, who I worship, I'd love to work with him. He's a Californian. COVID kept us from meeting. I hope I can still meet him. He wrote Ghosts of Times Past. And he was the first person to really figure out and make it public knowledge that towns decline slowly over the course of a period of time in stages. So he did an A, B, C, and D stages of decline. And it's weird. It goes backwards, where from D to A, with the most people and most remains, fewest people, the fewest remains. So Class D ghost town is one that has lost about, in my estimation, about 65% of its population. Some buildings are abandoned, some are not. Can a town recover from this? Yeah, could. There could be another economic boom or something. But if it doesn't recover, it will face steady decline. So Class C is the next stage, where all the people have left, but most of the buildings are still up. That's a classical notion of a ghost town. Then, if nobody maintains the buildings, the first thing that happens is roofs collapse and roof leaks, melt floors and stuff. Or if wildfire comes by with nobody prioritizing saving anything, but you have no more roofs, standing walls and rubble in Class B. Now, if those things disappear, that's a Class A. Class A is a barren site, maybe a cemetery, but everything's underground or there's nothing left. So, there's Class D ghost towns all over the place where you can go and discover and put them on a map and put them in my database. And so I've had a 20-point checklist of, you have to meet a criteria of how many check boxes can you check, like how much population is gone, what percentage of buildings are abandoned, does it still have a post office. These are all in the formula, and if the points add up, it's technically a Class D. So this is what I want to start as a movement of classifying things so we can have a big database and we can then have statistics. If we have statistics, we can find human settlement and abandonment patterns that nobody's ever studied before. And that'll be a new science, what I'm trying to start. Sure, people have studied individual cities. Like, oh, nobody lives in ancient Babylon anymore. What happened to Babylon? Persepolis, Ur, Sumerian town, where, Pompeii. But hey, we need to know about statistics. Did you know that about probably 80% of the gold mining town became a overnight ghost town, 1940? So most of the counties, the mountain communities of California, most of those counties lost most of their towns overnight as soon as Pearl Harbor was attacked. The men were drafted and gold mines were shut down by an executive order. Once they shut down, the pumps were too expensive to keep running and the mines flooded and nobody reopened them after the war. Thus, all the ghost towns of California and the mountains. So, do we have statistics? Just my general impression right now. I can't give statistics until the database is complete. This is very important to understand about very practical knowledge that we need. Like, if you identify towns that are likely to become ghost towns, like say gold mining was shut down again, like a new war, where they went to mine, things useful for the war like iron instead. Just how many communities would lose 80% of their population? How many counties would economically collapse? That's the state that they're currently in. Most of the mountain communities are completely dependent upon money from the rest of California. They have no tax base. They have almost no permanent residence. People visit in the summer. Nobody winters in the Sierras, really. It's pretty rare. Pretty harsh. It's pretty expensive to live up there, and there's no jobs. Not like a good mining job. So if you do a law that says so, like for example, no old growth logging, boom, you had so many counties in Oregon just instantly collapse, in Washington and California too, where logging was the only next thing after mining. So you can weigh what will be the repercussions of such a law, and how can communities prepare for that rather than just collapse. That's where the pushback is. Conflict between, say, environmentalists and people are not. They're not like, I hate trees. They're like, I don't want to lose my home. I have my home value go from something great to nothing. I don't want my town to die. Can we make transitions to a new? Can we put money into those counties to get a new type of economy based on tourism and immigration? Give them some grants and funds, boat ramps and the like. And hey, maybe the funds to rebuild something like an 1800s resort, right? So I think this is all very important. So Grant Glow says, P.S. With Napa Soda Springs, the buildings are still there. They are just hollowed out from the fires and very cool to visit. Yes. Grant, thank you so much for this information, by the way. Did I ever make it to Ballarat and Panamint Valley? Oh, gosh, on the list. I hear that that's pretty high altitude, right? And pretty treacherous. Isn't that by Death Valley? Panamint Valley? Here, sorry, let me go up. Evie Dancy, by the way. Glad to have you here too. Let's see. Yeah, Vanessa, I take that back. The Vikings did have some writing. However, Vikings were extremely superstitious, and so only priests were able to be literate. And that's because if you can write somebody's name, you can curse them. I hope the hammering from construction outside isn't coming from the microphone. I went out of my way with John Stoker's help, because he knows audio, to reduce background noise. But I apologize if that is going to. However, the bardic tradition was mostly what they did. I think it was mostly the Christian missionaries later who were listening to bards, trying to copy books. And the thing is, they changed a lot of their stories to be Christianized. Like Beowulf becomes a Christian saint. That's a funny one for an English example. But the Vikings had, I think they had a knotwork technique of memorizing things on knots and strings, kind of like the Khufu beads of the Andean civilizations, the Inca. It was like a binary code of putting knotwork. So it's like Morse code. So a area of the string that's flat is like a dash, and then you have a knot like a bump, right? So you can go SOS, which is dot 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 dash dash dot 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 SOS. And so you tie 3 knots and have 3 equivalent areas of blank by 3 knots. So we haven't cracked the binary code. If you want to win a Nobel Prize, go ahead and do it. So, Nevi says, odd how they call it prehistory, as if indigenous folks had no history. Well, history is written down writing. Anybody without writing has no history. They have oral history. That's why it's called oral history. So, unless somebody wrote that down right about the time before tribes went extinct or their elders did, all the time that's just gone, fortunately. So there's some arguments that some of the pictograms could be hieroglyphic type writing, but not enough survive for us to crack it unless we make new discoveries. It's real sad. But yeah, prehistory means before somebody's history gets written down. So it's not, it doesn't mean before history, it means before writing. I know that's a weird concept. We should probably maybe reword that, because it doesn't make sense. unless it gets explained. And I'm all for things just making sense right out of the bat. Like we can simplify concepts. But it's a mouthful to say pre-written word history. I think just pre-history is just a quick summary. But yeah, it is a shame that there's so much. I took a Native American history class. I think I took 2 of them. I was blown away how much is not taught. The little that we do know, it still isn't taught. Like the Mississippi Mound Builders and their civilization. The only thing they lacked for civilization is writing, which is I think you have to have art, permanent buildings, permanent settlements, agriculture, and writing. I think those are the 5 pillars of history, if I remember right from grade school. So just missing the writing point, well, maybe they had writing, but it was the Kifu knotwork stuff. Things like binary code it's kind of like a reusable thing before the invention of paper. You can untie your knots and redo them. You can reuse the same string. String's a lot easier to manufacture. Paper sort of thing, and it's lighter weight. Like you could take the same information in a book and just make a knotwork thing. Especially if you used a shorthand type script, and have it be lighter when you carry it around. Plus, if it's written in code, you could carry messages like in wartime without even if your messenger gets caught, nobody can decipher that. That's how they screwed up the conquistadors, and they hated it. Conquistadors were like, dang it, we intercepted a messenger for the Inca again. He doesn't know where the troops are, and we can't read this. Hey, Morris. Hey, good to see you. Morse code. Are they beating on the street again? Yes, they are. Grant Glow says in the East Coast, American Viking sites have been found. Absolutely. Finland is what they called it. I think it might be a hoax, the one they found on the Mississippi River, the tablet, because a person of what, Danish descent or Norwegian descent found it coincidentally. It just seems like a hoax. The one that was dated to the 800s, or supposedly, I mean, it had a date written on it, but the scratch marks in the stone didn't have enough patina to be truly old. And some people say, well, yeah, the guy who found it tried to use a nail to scratch out the writing to read it. That could be true, but I still think, if a black guy had found it or something with no connection to Scandinavia, that would be a lot more credible. But Scandinavian people kind of had a nationalistic type of pride where they pushed, and we have to remember the way governments work. They kind of pushed a worldwide kind of agenda thing where to get credit taken away from Columbus and handed to them instead. Whereas I don't get that. Why doesn't everybody just not give a damn? What does it matter? Like, oh, we have to be the Everest first, even if it kills half of our troops. I just personally don't understand that. To me, everything is a human achievement, and it's great. But that's just me. Nationalism is a thing. Okay, so what was I going to do? I was going to show you my ghost town pictures. I was going to show you a little bit of Grant and Greenhorn. Let's see. Oh, it was a confirmed hoax? Oh, Grant Morris is saying, how's my grandma voice? Sister Golden Hair told me when I met her, you look nothing like what I pictured. I'm like, what did you picture me? She's like, well, maybe somebody much older. Like, much? Yeah, much older. Let's see, Ballarat is on the valley floor. It's a unique ghost town where we have one person living there year round. Oh, are you near there, Grant? I'm sorry, I should. So I'm very curious about everybody. But I was taught when I was young, like asking too many personal questions was rude, and I never got into the habit of asking even things I'm very curious about people. So yeah, guys, totally share with me what Where you come from? What are your interests? What do you like? Um, Also, Charles Manson's pickup truck is in Ballarat for where they tried to escape from the Barker Ranch. That's spooky. Oh, but I'm doing well. I'm recovering from that back-to-back food poisoning I had and earlier poor health. Thanks for asking. You guys are making me feel great. This is fun. You guys being here. And Grant Glow, what did I find very interesting in the ancient giants? The Spanish wrote about them. Natives had stories about them. Oh yeah, the ancient giants North America theory thing. Oh, so yeah, the natives have a lot of stories about giants, but they consider them spirits, like Bigfoot. They don't think Bigfoot's an animal, it's a spirit. And everything's got a spirit, like the mountains, and the entire forest can have a spirit. Like the Columbia River is a spirit called Wauna, and or yeah, Waua, Wauna. So salmon have a spirit, and so the visual manifestations are like a vision. It's a guide thing or warning. Seeing Bigfoot somewhere might mean you should get the hell out of there because the spirit's warning you. Its unfriendliness might be part of its helping you, although some of them have boogeyman. So unfortunately, what happened with the giant things when photography was first introduced, a lot of trick photography, uh, an ignorant population that didn't understand double exposure, forced perspective illusion, and the fact that you can literally cut out something negative, uh, splice the two negatives of different photos together, and then when you make a print, you can't tell. The only forensic evidence of the change to the photograph is if you went back and said, where's the original negative? And if that person can't produce the original negative, they're a liar. Because they're going to hide it, because it would show the truth. And so the fairies hoax photo of the 1800s was something that fooled newspapers everywhere. The early 1900s. And then what it did, though, was make the photographer rich, selling all these photos, evidence of fairies in the woods, and one of them. So photography experts said, where are those negatives? And I don't know where I put that. It finally came out that the negatives are two different photos. One of the reason the fairies looked so realistic was their sculpture. So they cast shadows. And they would. This is just one of the examples. So the thing about the giant skeleton is they took regular graves in unscrupulous photographers and they used forced perspective where closer objects look bigger, but then just like Disney did, Disney forced perspective. Gosh, it was these examples are incredible of movie magic before guy. Let's see, what was that movie? Was that the Leprechaun movie? The Pot of Gold movie? It's an incredible movie. Yeah, wasn't it Pot of Gold? Uh, and tiny leprechaun people would be standing next to big people, right? And so these weren't green screens. These were tricks of perspective. And so in general, I think that's actually a statue. Not still from the movie. That one might actually be a green screen. But the idea is that the big people were actually really close to the camera for many of the shots, and bad. And the people who look smaller are actually extremely far away from the camera. I think the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman did this too. And so it looks like he's standing by the bed, but if you move the camera angle to the right or to the left, you'd see he's like 50 feet behind him. And he's leaning his elbow on something else in the background that makes him look like he's leaning on that bed. So the movie magic that way is exactly how they faked the large skeleton photos where the bones are huge in the graves. and it looks like a person's really small standing in the grave, but they're doing tricks. So if you were to move the camera, you'd find out the bones are not deep in the pit with the person; they're actually very close to. Now the Smithsonian archaeologists who are in the Mississippi Mound Builder graves, they didn't mean huge giants. Like they found, I think they did find a person with acromegaly, the gigantism, and it was a family burial, and that I think runs in family. The pituitary gland brain tumor that puts too much, Andre the Giant and other real giants have that. The brain tumor grows, and the pituitary gland produces too much growth hormone, and the person will get huge. So that seemed to have been a family congenital thing, which was totally real. But then when the age of trick photography came about, the vast majority of that stuff was a hoax. So it has a basis in reality that got super overblown as far as I've ever researched it. Now, biblical types will latch onto it. The ones who are not, it's not even really in the Bible. It's in the book of Enoch, which is apocryphal text, which is banned from the Bible. They really go with Noah's flood happened because a race of giants were partly the offspring of angels and female humans needed to be drowned for humans to take over the world again, for God's plan to work. So there's a lot of people with the Bible in mind trying really hard that really want to believe. But that's their motivation, to try to go out and find more evidence. And so I just want to caution anybody seeing really realistic photos of those things that to know what was happening at the time and what the current motivations of people are. So be really take things with a grain of salt and really require proof. Or you might get sucked into fantasy world. If they ever can produce proof, they'll rewrite history. But there's a reason why the mainstream won't accept it. It's like, where's your negatives? Where are the bones? Right? But truth is out there, and I've got an open mind. The hereditary nature of acromegaly, like if people are giants, if there's a warrior culture, they could definitely become a royal family. Kind of. You can have much larger than life people who are just, ancient people wouldn't understand brain tumors and things. They would think these people are blessed by God or chosen or something, or special, you know. So I can see that people in power might have a royal tomb with huge skeletons in it. That definitely could be a real thing. Morris says I do black and white still photography, and perspective can be changed. That's very true. I think the coolest example of perspective has been tilt shift recently. I'll show you my ghost town in a second. Tilt shift photography. It's another cool, neat photography trick. Oh, and also in the era at the time, if you're a fan of Harry Houdini, he hated the photographer hoaxes, so he went on a life's mission. He stopped being a magician and started being a hoax buster. So he went to seances. People were milking people for money, saying we can communicate with your dead loved one. And they'd take a photo of the person, and the dead loved one's ghost would be behind them. So these people would fork out $50,000 at a time. Put me in communication one last time with my dead child. And what they were doing was breaking into their houses and stuff and stealing their photos from home, taking a snapshot of that, making a copy. And then a week later, when the film is developed, oh, here's the magical dead boy, And so it was pretty devious. Photography hoax is the history of stuff. Vanessa says my father was 7'1", I'm 6'5", my sister's 6'3", my cousin's 6'9". Dang. You play basketball? Oh, did you guys know also what the Spanish said about California was hilarious? That the word California is about a queen. That the California was ruled by ancient Amazon women, like they escaped the fall of Troy because they were allied with the Trojans and against the Greeks, and they came to California and they developed an Amazon society ruled by women, and they ate men or something. Yeah, they were cannibals. Men were, well, when they were done with men, they were on the menu. And so the queen of California, her name was Caliph. That's where California comes from. That's the funniest story ever. This is great. And so the seal of California, I'm not making this up, has an Amazon chick on it. I love these myths and legends. They're so cool. That's her. That's the Amazon queen of California. The Spanish were describing. They were great with their storytelling. I can't make this up. You know, you go to a bar and you could say, like, true or false, you have to buy me the drinks. Queen Caliph of California. That would be awesome. I so want that to be true. Cogito says, is that the Amazon woman on the steel? Yeah, that's her. Queen Caliph. And she's got her Trojan helmet, man. She's decked out for war. That's very cool. Oops. Alarm. Okay, guys, you have me for 35 minutes. Oh, okay. I will show you the pictures. Probably like, get to the pictures. Okay. But there's the California state flower, the poppy, the bear. So that's why a woman is hugging a bear. California grizzly bear was the state animal and the country's animal when California was a country. I'm telling you, can't make this up. Okay. The Cogito says leprechauns are real. Maybe. I have to have an open mind about things. There's all I know is all I don't know. But I'm also like Scully. I gotta rein in the Mulder side of me and say proof and like put your belief into stuff. But I love myths and legends and cryptids. I think there are a lot of cryptids out there that are pretty real. Many have proven to be so over time. I don't go as far as my friend who thinks Bigfoot's a real living animal. He's seen one. He really wants me to take my camera and try to go to the place where he saw Bigfoot, see if we could camera trap it and mimic some ape calls and see if we could call one in. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to meet a Bigfoot if one exists, but unless I don't know how they would sustain themselves unless they ate tons and tons of salmon. For example. The only way I told him this, the only way Bigfoot could be real is if Bigfoot is so smart it has language. It understands our technology and how to avoid it. That would mean language smart. That's a frightening, terrifying thought. You know, that they can disable or walk around camera traps and detect them. That sort of idea. But I mean, there's a lot of unexplored places of Washington ever since ghost towns left. Only an occasional hunter or something walks by. And it's just kind of big and empty and roadless. So, you know, I still think most sightings are bears. Bears with, you know, when they walk on their hind legs, they can look pretty human like. My mom dated a Vietnam veteran. He said that he accidentally shot a bunch of sun bears in Vietnam. They stand up and look at you. They look like Charlie, he said. And they can have mange where their hair falls off. And if you've ever seen a hairless bear that's manged out, oh God, they do not look like a bear. Their feet and stuff look like human tracks and stuff. They don't have if they've worn down their claws. Let's see, go back. Big Dog says the Amazon woman. That explains Gavin Diesel. God, what? Really funny. Jay Cat says I dug out my old medical anthropology book from the school, The Races of Mankind. That's a funny one, isn't it? That's a funny one. It all looked cut and dry human evolution until I found that Australopithecines were like a totally different branch of apes. May not be related to us at all. That's a trip. The missing link is still out there to be found. Okay, so you wanted to see some ghost town? Oh, this is tilt shift, by the way. Does this look like a scale model? This is a real neighborhood. But if you tilt shift, use a tilt shift lens, it looks like a model, doesn't it? But this is aerial photography. That's a real mail truck going down the street. Yeah, American suburban neighborhood tilt shift aerial photography residential district. It's so amazing. It just looks fake. And it's real. We are the aliens? Could be. What if humans used to live around the time of dinosaurs, and then we could see that the asteroid was coming, left, had to go away for millions of years, came back, crash landed, and how the hell would we know about that? We'd be back in the Stone Age, right? Or the people who woke up were in cybersleep, and they woke up almost like feral children. They didn't know anything. I mean, no evidence, but since there's no evidence to disprove it either, you have to have like a scale of believability, of kind of rationality, where 7 is like still possible, but like probably not at all real, and 1 is like not proven but probably real because it answers all the questions. Because we won't find answers for everything. There's sometimes physical evidence is gone, and there's a saying in archaeology: absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Like if all the Model T Fords disappear, doesn't mean Model T's never existed. So you can have folklore and stuff passed down. Many things are just misunderstanding. Things like the griffin mythology, Protoceratops skulls found in the Mongolian desert. But since it had a beak, it looked like some sort of an eagle creature. So they came up with a drawing that looked like an eagle creature with a beak. And then there were claws and stuff from other dinosaurs. So they're like, that went with it. But it's just, they probably found a place where a river that raged around a whole bunch of dinosaurs at once, including velociraptors who were their predators, Protoceratops. And they just see a jumble of bones where the river kind of deposited them, and they think it's skeleton, single creature. Let me go to my Sumter Eastern Oregon trip and get out some pictures. We don't have any new fires. And how have you been, Cogito, by the way? Where have you gone? Where have you gone? Yeah, and when he was saying leprechauns are real, like nobody believed in wee people until the Hobbit fossil was found, right? So hell, I'm not ruling out race of giant stuff. I just put that kind of really far back because most of the belief in them is either from mythology, banned biblical texts that might have been hoaxes even in their day, and hoax photography. I put that back towards 5 or 6, 7, but not 7. I mean, 7's like flying spaghetti monster that I can't prove or disprove exists. But I put things a little bit closer that I think probably were real, even though there's no real evidence for. If they answer all of our questions, if one thing answers a lot of unanswered questions, probably the truth. That's what Socratic philosophy. Big Dog says, I wonder how many Amazon women drank bear urine while starting their cooking fire. Yeah, maybe that's how they made themselves extinct, right? Oh my God. Oh man. Where's Big Al? Didn't he make the bear urine special drink as a bartender? Oh man. I mean, yeah, Vanessa said I 100% thought there was a Mr. Rogers Neighborhood model. I know. I never did that style of photography. You gotta buy a special. I hear Lens Baby is the cheapest way to do it. Here, let me pick up my ghost town photos off screen. Lens Baby is was a fad, and I think it's coming back. But it's a lens that you stick on the edge of like pretty much any camera, and it is flexible. It bends like a tube, so you get some interesting effects. I didn't think this was worth the couple $100 or whatever they were selling it for, but I had a photography teacher get really into that, and I didn't take his class, but I knew he was a photography teacher. Everybody loves the bokeh effect, this thing with lights. So yeah, myths have grounding in reality, sure. They often can. The myth of the satyr, the satyr, the goat men. Oh, the holy crap, myth of the satyr. Sorry, I have to show you this. There was a salt mine in Persia. The salt mine bodies. This is where the legend must have come from. Where's the picture? You know how they're depicted as goatmen with this long beard and stuff. And okay, this is gonna show genitals. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get banned. Okay, so Greek art that's naked. I can't even show Greek art that's naked. I'm sorry. I have to do this off screen and then pull over the thing. I have to find something that's not showing male parts. Satyr assault bodies. Ahem. I was hoping for a news article. This always happens to me. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Here's the actual Twitter. Oh no. Okay. Ahem. So in a salt mine, there's all these preserved bodies when there's a collapse. We're talking Copper Age, Bronze Age stuff, on the cusp of the Iron Age. And so uh, when people are pulled out, most of their bodies would kind of get disintegrated, but their beards and hair were miraculously preserved in the salt and their skin. And this is probably where the myth of the goatmen thing came about. The strange thing about the salt was it was preserving leg hair too, but the skin shrank and peeled back from the skin. So the that left them with a hairy-legged look about them, and that's probably where that originated. Also, they were next to the bodies of the animals that were in there, pulling the carts, and they did have animals in there because before canaries were in coal mines, sometimes nope, no nakedness. Before canaries were in coal mines, you had beasts of burden in there, and a lot of times animals being low to the ground will start to die of toxic air before a human will, being higher up. Carbon dioxide, for example, heavier than air. So animals in mines was really common. I mean, children too. So the skeletons of livestock and got all jumbled up with the bones, and that's probably the origin of the satyr. Stop eating mushrooms, Morris says. Cogito says, yay, genitals. Oh, God. Okay, at least I'm not drawing them this time on accident, trying to show fire spread pattern. Whoopsie. Big Dog says, oh, yeah, sorry, I already read that. So let's go back. Big Dog said, like I always said, this is an adult stream. Oh my God. Here I am just trying to do the most kosher thing ever. I'm just trying to show you historical photos. Oh no, I'm going to get banned. Okay, so where's my Eastern Oregon trip? Pull that up. Yeah, the Sumter and Bourne area. Man, I would love to know more about Ballarat, Panamint, Grant Still West. If you hit the three dots at the top right, you see participants. Oh no, I don't think he's still with us. We only got the 19 people now. This is cool. This is the best Firewatch day because I don't see any new ones. This is a good day. We have to make up topics to discuss. Kind of let our chat. You guys can lead What do you really want to see? Don't see smoke and stuff. Good. Moonraker? What's Moonraker? Wasn't that a James Bond movie? Wasn't that the one where James Bond he goes through a movie set where they're faking the moon landings, which was hilarious. I didn't realize that James Bond was a meme. Okay, I found them. Found the picture. Um, wow. Okay, I also have geodetic files. Now, okay, so I was there in June, and June is the winter of Eastern Oregon. So this is entering granite. Yeah, I'd come out of the mountains because I took a route where I took a cool app, Backcountry Navigator, put that in my phone, and there's others that do similar things. But that was kind of the first of its kind, I believe. You could import historical maps as long as they get them from the U.S. Geological Survey. They'll have GPS lineups with the historical maps. Oh gosh, I have to take off some sweater here. When I'm streaming, my video card's making heat. Okay. And I took these ancient maps, turn of the century U.S. Geological Survey, which has the old roads and stuff that used to exist. It shows you black dots and black squares where the mine buildings and everything, stores, stagecoach stops and whatnot used to exist in little villages, tent camps of the miners. So Granite was an established town, but there's many more just mining camps that really quickly went away because most of them got erased by the flooding. Most mining is kind of done by water sources, or nuggets and such. So here's Granite, and I had this big wide-angle lens. I had a crazy vignette at the time, so all the photos screwed up that way. But it was better than not having. Whoops. Excuse me. Let me order my windows again. There we go. Now you're on the road to Florida, Cogito. Okay, I'm jealous. Where are you at right now? You're like cross country all the way there. Moonraker is a CB radio antenna. Oh, really? That's cool. All right. So the A-frame cabin here has a sad story. I believe that's the cabin. That's where, as this became more and more of a ghost town, it declined slowly, where just a few people began to be permanent residents, over the 20th century. And it had good pastures and stuff for have livestock, so it stayed around even after the gold collapses of Eastern Oregon. Yeah, Eastern Oregon had a gold rush. Yeah. And yeah, have fun there, you lucky bastard. All right. But one of the A-frames, I can't remember which one it is, the last sheriff there, and some low-life types, criminal types that were locals, were in trouble, and they thought that he could book them for a long time. So they crept in and shot him. I think he was in his rocking chair, and the night shot him in the back of the head. Some sort of crazy murder. So he's buried there in the cemetery. And everywhere there's no cabins left, though, you can still see these flowers. If you ever go out to Ghost Town, you'll see the flower in the yards of that still come up, the annuals and stuff that still come up, even though the house remains gone. So you can kind of see where people used, kind of like on street grids where the trees are younger that are growing there. That's the cemetery. And then, because there's just missing houses. Streets are too long and they lead to nowhere. And I think I saw the sheriff's grave. His name was Bud. And there's a bench, the memorial bench, I think, Bud. Now that's the schoolhouse. And the big general store, that's the schoolhouse. Very photogenic. Now this is quite a while ago. This is an ancient digital camera. Like it doesn't have good megapixel. Yeah, that's where the daffodils grow. Cat says you may be in something nasty this weekend for Florida. Odds are now 90%. Oh no, it's not hurricane. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's the full house. Really cool. When I went in there, there were obviously inhabited cabins, but no other soul. I just wandered around by myself, my companion, and there's a cool car. If you like classic cars, so you could see that people have properties and they were there for the summer, but nobody was home. Just nobody. And much of Eastern Oregon is like that. I mean, there's a gas station, there's nobody there. And so in Oregon, you can't pump your own gas. They changed the law, I think, just for Eastern Oregon, because to have a gas attendant be there every day when people don't even come to your store every day doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Big Dog says Granite sits at 4,700 foot elevation. All these buildings are still around because the town's not technically a Class ghost town. It straddles the line between D and C. And because seasonal inhabitant residents are a different way that towns can decline, where half the buildings become abandoned and those are going to collapse. But the people that are diehards or inherit property just visit many different times of the year, and so they'll try to shore up, keep from falling down many of the prouder buildings of the town. This is the dance hall, and it looked like it was on its last legs. I was like, oh my God. But looking through the cracks, where the front glass used to be, it had like a theater back there. It looked like they were shoring it up and getting ready for some renovation. There's some insulation in there. So, but then again, things can be like this for 15 years. You don't know. Like that's a chair from the 80s right there. So, arrested decay, is that what it's called? Have I ever been to Denio? What's that? Where's Denio? What's the coolest places you guys know about? A fixer-upper dance hall? Yeah. I wonder if the Google car's ever gone through there, because this is a long time ago. The 2000s. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope somebody did something. Is that a cement mixer? Yeah, but there's cool log cabins, add-ons. I think the barn, I think that shed was for horses. And a lot of these are hunting lodges too now. But then again, once gold hit that $1,000 an ounce, we have seen a revitalization. We're total ghost towns of the past. There's new tents, and occasionally even a store open. People come back to revitalize the ghost town. Now, unfortunately, the Dixie Fire took out my favorite one, which was called Caribou. Not Caribou, just north of Caribou. Just south of Butt Lake. What's that one? Why am I blanking on that? I need to eat, definitely, and it's probably about time for me to wrap this up, actually. I realize it's 45 ago. I had more blood sugar. There it is. That was a cement mix. Oh no. Smitty, what was it called? Leave Canyon Dam, and you'd go up by the lake, turn left, Seneca, when I expected nobody to be there in the 2000s as well. I found gold miners pitching tents there, and they reopened the gin mill, that bar, but the Dixie Fire just killed the gin mill. It had been there since the 1800s. It was a time capsule. They had closed it up in the 50s, the 1800s bar, and they'd reopened it and didn't have electricity. It never did. It had an ice box. had a player piano and stuff inside, and ancient Gothic deer heads, taxidermy from like 1905. But it was like a business being reopened. All these guys were doing pick, pan, and shovel stuff. Yeah, I know. I'm eating. I'm eating at 3. So, um, this is a cool. I mean, you could tell there was much more of a town here by the whole fire hydrant thing. Who knows if that would still give water? Like, would that pressurize? I looked at fire hydrants, and it's a good habit, especially in older towns. Many across the west coast of the United States were made by Willamette iron and steelwork. Yes, and that's one of them. Willamette Iron and Steelwork, Portland, Oregon. They shut that down in the 90s, which was a crying shame. They built most of the fire hydrants, the monitors that did the gold mining, well, the destructive gold mining, the hoses, you know. They built on many steamships and many special trains, especially Willamette shays, geared locomotives that could haul gigantic old growth trees out of the woods. Oh, you first thought of Genesee? Yeah, Seneca. I'm scared of going back to Sonoma County, see what the 60 fire did, but I have to rip off that band-aid and do it soon. I was gonna go earlier, like in May, and then I found out snowstorms were still running up there. I bet the snow's off the ground now. Wait, this is granite. Greenhorn is much higher elevation, and I've got that too. Let me dig up that folder. I'll quickly show you a little bit, but I do want to go back with a real camera. I mean, that was a bad camera. Let's see here. I organized them by day. So I had a wild goose chase shortcut to Greenhorn, but I found giant old growth trees, which were amazing. This road, Garmin told me to take to get to Greenhorn, and boy, did the sidewalk end. I mean, it faded off into the forest. And I looked at 1800s maps, and the road kept going somewhere, but it doesn't anymore. Like a fire access road or something. And I turned my car around right before the road sank into a boggy area, and I was really sweating that I'd get stuck in the middle of nowhere. Like, this road doesn't have a road sign name, you know, like Garmin just said turn right, and then it looked good on the Garmin, but many times roads do not exist anymore in the mountains and in eastern Oregon. They're just not maintained, and they're fading away to nothing. But the lazy way that map making works for even today's GPS navigation is map makers mostly just take a map from a previous decade and make a few minor adjustments to where there's been new development, but they never go out and verify that roads still exist. That's what's scary. So yeah, the road terminated into a bog like this. What? I mean, the terrain totally changed, and so I didn't have as much time at Greenhorn as I wanted to. Here's me with the Garmin going, what? Trying to reprogram it to take me on normal roads to Greenhorn. So the Greenhorn Road, I had driven right past it because the sign was faded out. That old green sign, you know, that has a street sign, to white. Like, it's hard. Alien says there's a fire between Geneva and Clear Lake. Is that new? Oh no. I don't have a watch duty update. I have to go in about at least 5:3. What's going on? There's something new? Clear Lake has an older fire by Lakeport called the George Fire that was updated 2 days ago. That was contained. Could that be what you're referring to? There's tankers circling. Well, thanks for coming by to tell us about that. That's the one at unrelated. Let me go. Let's see. Where'd you say? Ivra? I never heard of that. Clear Lake? Clear Lake's far north. Oh. Okay. Let's tune into their broadcast feed. All right, friends. Pausing story time. Let's go to Lake County's. Or should we actually be tuned into Cal Fire? Like Northern California major incident. Let's turn that one on. Okay, so Northern California major incident channel. I don't think we had any traffic on that before. Let's check CA Fire Scanner's Twitter. Thank you, Alien, for the tip. Oh God, that hurt. Okay, I'm turning it down. Bear with me. Okay. Oh wow, announcement. Today Watch Duty app is launching statewide. Oh wow, cool. Maybe I have to update it. Okay, I don't see a tweet from CA Fire Scanner, although he could be. I'm sorry, that was muted for you guys.
Alexander 104, Comfort 104, paragraph 2.
Ow, my ears. Tone that down a slight bit. They're talking about being released, but they have not said anything so far about where from. But by the way, Vanessa, you're totally awesome for getting all that info.
Got tied in with 1469. I've got 1469, 1166, engine 3021, engine 3022, and I have 2 water tenders continuing. Tied in with 1469, you can cancel the balance. We'll be able to handle with the units this scene.
Okay, let's look at east of Clear Lake.
I see 1446.
Let's look at east of Clear Lake. That would be Lake County Sheriff's Office. Would they have made an announcement? Yeah, signs of fire in the cam, Big Dog. Thanks. I'm gonna check. Let's check out El Topo.
Units en route to vegetation fire, Cortina Indian Ranch area for Cortina. I see unit testing can handle. Balance can cancel. Acknowledge. Engine 1175.
Indian 1175.
Indian Ranch Road.
Engine 1164.
That took us really far away. Is anybody familiar with an Indian Ranch Road by Clear Lake?
For Dozer 1445. Transfer Dozer 1445. Acknowledge cancellation.
1445, acknowledge cancellation available.
That's south of it. So
Alexander 104, Comfort 104, CVS third ground 2.
let's put this map mode in a different thing. I can do this. Settings. Road map.
Balance cancelled. 1447.
Spring Valley Road and Manzanita Road is where those planes were circling. That's Cortina Indian Rancheria. So there could have been a different Indian Ranch Road right here. Although I don't see one.
Center 104, air attack 140 East, Trump 6.
And we don't.
Same line engine 1562 is clear the Sears incident available. Your wishes?
Okay.
Engine 1562, return to run. 1562, up.
All right.
We made contact with Ellen Center Eastern.
They are leaving the vicinity. Maybe they just put a minor thing out, or yeah, it could have been a smoke investigation. But they just said they're clear of the incident, so that's good. Thanks for the tip. If I get a gold membership from Flight Radar, I gotta do a little bit more fundraising. I can track 60 planes at once, and I bet I could put most of the California firefighting planes on it. So super chat stickers are there if anybody wants to help donate. Even $1 helps. Have I eaten? No. It's now 2:50. I had a Carnation Instant breakfast. So I mixed that in my milk because the moment that I was about to have.
Transfer to 1644, acknowledges cancellation.
About to have my breakfast.
1644, 1449.
Well, the fire broke out. So I've got a appointment at 3:20 or 3:15, something like that. I gotta leave a little bit before. Sorry, I can't stream all day. I would love to. Thanks for the eat reminder, but definitely I'm having a nice big fat lunch. But I do appreciate everybody who has helped me with the little donations. Even $1 helps, because this can be pretty expensive to have. I have to have subscriptions to Broadcastify, Flight Radar. I want to buy one for Caltopo, because Caltopo has some amazing features. It looks like in the future, I've been talking with C-Probe, and he might try to help me with this, and anybody technical might try to help me with this. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. Oh my goodness. Shoo and go eat while it's still uneventful. Okay. I do have to be gone for the 3 o'clock hour, like no matter what happens. Now, my plan, if a fire was going, that you, my beloved mods, could hold the fort for 1 hour while I returned. But it looks like I'll be able to straight up, leave and then maybe, I really do have to get some other work done for the day too. And I'm glad that we were able to spend our time together. And thank you so much, everybody who's ever donated. I'm using the money for good work. So what David C-Probe is going to help me with is, if I get a gold or whatever highest membership for Caltopo, we'll be able to do a neat trick. Caltopo can import layers and APIs from other institutions. So it looks like Caltopo, you hit the pricing button. It's $100 a year, but I can have a desktop application. Great. It'll work probably better than straight up from the browser. I could have a million layers and stuff. I can make my own private maps and then probably link people to it. So if somebody wanted me to craft for them what I would think might be a good escape route to investigate for their own fire safety, I could maybe draw a map and say, here you go, here's my idea from home where I think might be a good escape route, but you have to go verify that. I might be able to do that sort of thing. The cool thing about the GIS tools and premium layers is I could import flight data. So we can have the fires like shown on the map at the same time the planes are on the map, so that we don't have to switch back and forth between windows. I think we could take the Flight Radar 24 data or the other plane tracking website. So this will be so cool. Thank you so much, Vanessa. You're so sweet. And yes, my mods, thank you. I hope to meet all my mods one day and buy them dinner. You guys deserve so much. And maybe I can do that one day, like in the thick of things. Try to get Uber deliveries from mods. You guys deserve steaks. Totally do. I haven't had any donations whatsoever because it was only during live for since I last went live in January, January 3rd or so. But I've kept all these subscriptions going, and so I need to stream more often to have a little like keep me alive fundraiser. But I imagine when things get hot and hairy during the summer that everything will come right back, especially if a big event happens, which I'm hoping doesn't, honestly. I hope I can spend most of the summer filming history stuff and coming back and showing you my photos. I hope you guys liked, some of my photos. And granted, Big Dog says, are there repairs done on your house yet? No. No. They did a botched thing and my window leaked again, so at least one window is being replaced again because they put a faulty one and or screwed it up somehow. So I'm not happy. They're redoing all the siding because that got ruined too by the leak. And we had nonstop rain for months, so they discovered that a while ago, and yet they not been able to work that much. So when they were working, they were completing things I think they knew full well were not going to last in the last couple of months. So I'm not happy at all, and that's why I haven't been able to stream. It's just been saws going off constantly, hammering, and they even painted over rotted wood. So just tip of the iceberg. All you need to know about why I haven't been able to stream. Like I've been driven out of my own home, just trying to escape noise during working. And I came back and they were using a jackhammer to pull up deck boards against the wall. I'm like, I'm sorry, what are you doing this for? Okay. I come inside, there's shattered glass all over the floor where the paintings fell off the wall. And I had glass pieces, thankfully nothing I cared about, on that wall too, and they didn't give me any notice or any warning. So I walked on shattered glass with bare feet because I slipped my shoes off when I came in, and I didn't turn on the big lights, just like a lamp. And I'm like, why am I walking on what feels like Lego pieces? By the grace of God, the glass fragments of the shattered jars in the painting were face down with the sharp sides down. So I kind of accidentally pressed them into the floor. Not too much damage done, but I was walking like on a glass jar bottom, but thank God the jagged pieces was face down, otherwise I had been hospitalized and put my full body weight on it. Ah. So I have really wanted to stream. I've been ready to for a little bit. So what I did was I used my time another way to try to get ready for photography and for trips, and I went to my archive to file away many old photos that were really hard to find. I purchased hard drives, I consolidated them, so I'd be ready for this. But there's been a lot of things I had to do. I'm still trying to fulfill my obligations I promised to people last summer. That I just disappeared off the face of the earth for most of my friends and family last summer. I mean, the ones who knew about the stream thought I did it a few days, and then they're like, so where have you been the last few months? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm live like 17 hours a day. I have only not been live for six or 7 days out of 95 days. And they go, what? Oh, no wonder we haven't seen you. Oh, yeah, I've got a PayPal link, guys. So sorry, I don't even ready. Super Chat takes 30% of everything. PayPal doesn't take God, but you have to have your own PayPal account. So let me find that in my hard drive. Let me find it. But thank you so much for supporting me when I've kind of run dry of money. So I will have special treats, and if I do a Patreon, which is I'm learning about, I will be able to show you guys before anybody else, some of what I'm able to photograph as a personal thank you and privilege. I need to do a complete video of just showing the people who are my supporters. I've been hesitant because I asked, hey guys, do you want me to put you on stream? Like, you want to be anonymous though? Like, if you want your name on stream, you gotta tell me. But that's okay. And almost nobody did. And so I was like, what if people are mad that I made a video that had their first and last names? Should I do it?
With you the resources you have at the scene.
Hang on. Hang on, I'm getting my PayPal link. Okay. Just had to confirm my identity.
When available, please phone call the command center.
Well, it's a good thing I looked at PayPal because there's an unauthorized charge, or one that was an accident. I have to call them. Okay, what is my link? PayPal.me link. I always get lost in the PayPal website. Okay, dismiss alarm. It's telling me my appointment's starting. I had a little cheat sheet where it was on the desktop of the old computer before I reformatted, and it was my PayPal. It says get paid with QR code. I don't need that. Just what's my where is my dot? How do I find it? Okay, I go to account. Sorry, I'm off on a different computer. So go to PayPal dashboard. They don't have an account button. Is it under finances? No, it's not finances. That's a cryptocurrency wallet. Oh my god. Account and profile.
Station, Sonoma County Ca, stand by for current dispatch level.
Okay. My profile.
Station San Elena with your current dispatch levels. West side ignition 42, spread 13, index 64, dispatch level high. High commas, ignition 27, spread 9, index 47, dispatch level high. Central ignition 62, spread 36, index 108, dispatch level high.
Oh no.
East side ignition 66, spread 38, index 126, dispatch level high. South end ignition 45, spread 15, index 67, dispatch level medium. San Elena clear 0, section 1501.
Wait. What was she just saying? There's my PayPal link. There it is. Oh dear. What was this whole dispatch level high stuff? Too bad Cognito has left. He would tell me what that means. Is that just explaining levels for the day, or is that a new fire that just happened? Alien says alert wildfire region east and south bay, Cam Holiday Lake 1 showing smoke. Thank you. Take a look. Now, if there is a fire, I'll leave the cams on, mute myself, and be back in an hour. I knew this would happen. Alright, so South Bay. Thank you so much, Morris.
Copter 104, 1502.
I could have a clause in submissions whereby sharing your photos or video with me, you're authorizing to whatever name to give the credit. Well, it's just that now when people donate, I just wanted a note on the donation thing saying anonymous, like keep me anonymous or not, like that. But like nobody did that. Only like 3 people specified whether or not they wanted to be anonymous. So I would just hate to make a video I'd have to take down where it's the big thank you video that I want to share to everybody. I don't want to violate anybody's privacy or wishes, but I want to credit everybody who's been so kind and helpful. And I can't do this without anybody, so I don't know if I should do a initial and a last name, or just like a first name and a last initial, or just do initials, or just do first names. I don't know. So let's see. Yeah, Vanessa says, "See, I told you to go eat before things got hectic." Right, right. But thank you so much. You're so kind to everybody. I will deliver. You hold things right. Where is the smoke? Looking back at the chat. Please get a Patreon. I will support. Absolutely. That's what I'm working on, Nevi. Thank you so much. Doc Hoovy says, sorry for the reason you need to be here, but I'm glad to see and hear your stream again. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you. Yeah, I feel guilty that I haven't been able to help New Mexico and Arizona when they were in their crisis. I just winter was rough. The one other channel Vanessa says I followed is a weekly shout out to donors. First name, last initial. I think that's probably what I heard on dispatch was a fire weather forecast. Thank goodness that you're here, Alan. I was spacing out in the front, and I just came back to attention. I was trying to do the PayPal link. I already did it. It's paypal.me/Catherine. Did it not work? Let me test. I thought that's all you have to put in the browser. Okay, which cam? Sorry, I've been looking back at chat to see which cam we're supposed to be looking at. Alien? Yeah, it does work. So what it does is the whole 9 yards, I guess, does that as a redirect. Try that one out. How Amazon gift cards? Yes, those would be perfect. Amazon gift cards. That's absolutely awesome. Holiday Lake 1. Thank you. Juggle stuff. Thank you so much, Alan. It kind of sounded like their weather reports that they would do at shift changes. We were listening to the Dixie Fire. Thank you so much for offering your expertise. The there at Holiday Lake, time lapse that to the last hour. That's 2:13, 2:14, 2:15, 20. We're talking time here. 2:30. Smoke. Is this the house fire? There can be large houses. That looks pretty residential. Oh, thanks, Vanessa. Thank you so much. And you know, anybody who's thinking, gosh, I don't know if I can donate, please don't. You know, and I would always want most money to go to fire victims. But in order to stay alive, I also have to choose between something that would make me money and doing this, working and doing this. So I wish I could live off investments or something like the wealthy, but don't have any. Okay, so yeah, I'm wondering if that's residential. Let's pinpoint just north of San Marin by Anderson Reservoir. Whatever, phone. Okay, it's really bugging me now. All right, I think that's residential.
St. Helena, engine 2564, entering the unit.
Entering the unit. It's on a hill, though. The camera is. Wait, I'm sorry. The camera is. Where's the... That's right. I'm spacing out, guys. See, I have to get something right for my appointment, so... Yeah, I've got to go. I think... Okay, I will come and look at this. I may not go live, but I will look at this exact thing after my appointment. That will be around 4:15. Well, thank you so much, Alan. Your volunteering is really enough. I mean, that's above and beyond a call. Thank you. I should be buying you guys, all my mods, dinner.
Cortina IC,
Oh.
do you have an estimated commitment time for unit testing?
Okay, I'll stop that. So I'm gonna shut down, and then don't make us come over there. Take care of yourself. Yeah, thank you, Alan. Thank you all my mods. Thank you guys for being here. And I'm so happy that today, knock on wood, it's not over, but things have just been going well. The weather's cooperative. Firemen are on it. Firefighters are just awesome. Pilots are awesome. Dispatch is awesome. This is a well-oiled machine in the Bay Area. And thank goodness we haven't had any big outbreaks anywhere else. But I'll check in at 4:15. Check my Twitter at K Wildfires, and K like the letter. And I tweet things about whether or not I can go live and when. Oh, I forgot to do that today. Oh my gosh. Guess you should remind me. I should probably tell people when I'm live on Twitter. But I'll check in at 4:15 on Twitter. And see you then. Thank you so much, guys. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Oh, thank you, Morris. I'll have a good lunch then. Bye-bye.